All right. Here we go.
With Bill Gunter and Patrick Perrette.
Why don't we start with someone more interesting?
And producer extraordinaire, Jen Jensen. It's time for the early game, where the bacon is always prepared properly.
My Grand Slam was supposed to be with sausage.
On 107.5, The Game.
Happy Wednesday morning to you. We're working our way halfway through the week and hope you're doing well. Bill Gunter, Patrick Perrette, got you covered here on the early game on 107.5, The Game 6:05 on a Wednesday morning. Up and Adam, some college football playoff rankings last night. Not much change, but Patrick, I feel like we're heading for a fun final 3 weeks here. The 2 weeks of the regular season, 1 week of championship week, as we try to determine the 4 teams that will participate in this year's college football playoff. There was a good bit of college basketball on last night, a couple of upsets in the world of college basketball, one that I didn't watch and I should have, another that almost was pulled off by College of Charleston down in Charleston against North Carolina. That was the one that I was watching. So a fun evening last night. It'll continue to ramp up tonight with more college basketball, with more MAC action football, or MACtion football, if you like. And then we'll move closer to Thursday and some ACC football on Thursday night in a weekend that should be a lot of fun. Shane Beamer meeting with the media yesterday, addressing the issue with, or the opening at Virginia Tech that came open during our show. We never get to have news broken on our show, yet that's exactly what happened yesterday. We'll get to all that. Shane Beamer's comments yesterday, nothing earth-shattering, right? Nothing right off of the top from Shane Beamer that caught your attention, that made the ears perk up, the eyebrows raise. Anything yesterday that Shane said, aside from the Virginia Tech news, which I knew he would. Look, he wasn't going to come out and say, yes, I am very interested in that position. My father coached there. That is a spot that really could intrigue me. I'm the coach at South Carolina for now, though.
No, I mean, I'm always interested to hear how coaches talk about these, their name being mentioned for job openings, and there were some interesting ones. Lincoln Riley talked yesterday, and I think depending on how you're looking at it, he didn't do anything to halt that speculation, because he said, I'm the coach of the University of Oklahoma football team, and that was pretty much it. Shane Beamer pointed out the obvious. I'm from there. My dad still lives there. He's a great coach there. I went to school there. But I wasn't just saying it when I meant that this was my dream job. And I think he shut down all speculation pretty much right away. So I was not surprised by how he did it, but people go back on their word all the time, but it does feel like Shane Beamer definitely meant it. And we talked about it yesterday. There's no real logical reason for him to even consider answering the phone if Virginia Tech were to call. So I think it's a non-story from here on out. I think he did what he needed to do.
Yeah, and also I don't know how much interest is on the side of Virginia Tech and what they're exactly looking for. I yesterday perused a few different Virginia Tech sites and just kind of looking at their overall coaching list. They are pretty honest about where they are in the world of college football. The two that I read had 2 big names, as you would expect, at the top, or one massive name because of a tie-in with the athletic director, Luke Fickell, who basically has worked under Whit Babcock. But in both, at least 2 of the 3 articles I read yesterday, both kind of admitted, like, yeah, we don't know if we're a big enough job for him. We're not sure he would leave Cincinnati for us, let alone choose us over some of the other jobs that are out there. And then they mentioned Billy Napier. And while they said, yeah, Billy Napier is obtainable financially, Billy Napier is probably after that LSU job. And depending on how fast LSU moves, Virginia Tech may not wait on him. And also, again, they were pointing out if he's already turned down a few SEC jobs, as has been reported or was reported last year, they were not sure how interested Billy Napier would actually be in them. There was some other interesting names that popped up. Dave Clawson from Wake Forest, Will Healy from Charlotte were 2 names that were mentioned kind of on that list as coaches that could maybe make a move and end up there in Blacksburg. So I'm with you. Nobody on the Virginia Tech side yesterday even really mentioning that Shane Beamer would get a phone call, and Shane kind of putting that to rest. So Unless anybody is really trying to get into that story today, Patrick, I think you and I are going to just move right on past that because, as you mentioned, Shane answered it. Virginia Tech doesn't seem all that interested, and it doesn't appear to be anything that South Carolina needs to worry about, discuss, or be in the headlines for the next 72 hours leading up to Auburn on Saturday afternoon.
No, it's not worth discussing from a Shane Beamer perspective, but it will be interesting. I mean, there's the whole coaching carousel this offseason is going to be one of the more interesting we've had in years, really. I mean, last year was a nothing mostly. Obviously, we hired a head coach, but most teams held off on firings. And I think 2 years ago wasn't great. I think, what was it? Mike Norvell was the big hire. And it's been a couple years since we've had several multiple massive jobs open. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun offseason for all this.
Well, there's a good article. It was on CBS Sports yesterday in regards to the coaching carousel and just the lack of it, basically saying that the coaching carousel over the last 7 years have chewed up and spit out really big names in the world of college football. I did mention Will Muschamp. I mean, Will Muschamp was at one time at Texas a massive name in the world of college football and was desired by many. I mean, I remember being up at Clemson, I don't know, maybe the early 2000s, maybe Clemson fans remember. It might have been the end of the Tommy Bowden era. So we're talking 2008, maybe 2007, somewhere in there again. And the slogan was "Bring the boom to Clemson," and that was bringing Will Muschamp. They wanted him. They didn't want Dabo Swinney. They didn't want Dabo Swinney until he knocked off Steve Spurrier there. I think it was, again, I think it was in 2008 is when I'm remembering correctly. But it was 2008, and Will Muschamp was the hot commodity at the University of Texas as the defensive coordinator and coach in waiting. And again, the article yesterday on CBSSports.com basically just saying, the last 10, 12 years have not been nice to some of the hot up-and-coming coaches when you talk about guys like Will Muschamp, like a Tom Herman, like a Justin Fuente, who was mentioned very, very prominently for jobs. It mentioned Steve Sarkisian, who his run at Washington, at Southern Cal, I think record-wise isn't awful, but certainly the way that burned out. And now you look at what's happening at Texas and the weird question. Did you see the weird question that was asked to him?
On Sark?
Yes.
No.
I'll have to see if I can get you that audio and we'll play that. I think it was a question or a story on life that they were just trying to keep Sark in a good mood. It was clearly a friend of the program, we'll call, asking a question. But Texas right now trying to rebound from losing to Kansas, which I don't know what's more embarrassing in college football right now when you lose to Kansas, especially on your home field.
Well, so if you think about it, I mean, what hire has worked out in the past 7 to 10 years? Because you look at all of the programs that are reigning supreme right now, and it's obviously Clemson. We know that story. Obviously Alabama. Kirby Smart was a good hire. But aside from that, it was Urban Meyer passing it down to Ryan Day. There was no real big coaching search there. And then same thing with Oklahoma and Lincoln Riley. There was no big coaching search there. It was just Bob Stoops gave him the job. He was always going to be that guy. And so who has gone out, made a big hire, and it's worked recently? Has anyone besides Georgia?
I mean, you can make the case that if Dan Mullen was sitting at 6-2, let's say he doesn't lose to LSU and doesn't lose to South Carolina, and his two losses, they would be the dud of a game against Kentucky and the Alabama game coming off of the SEC championship. I think most people would say that Dan Mullen is working in Florida, that he's done good things, but
he's not recruiting, and he's on the hot seat. So
he's not. This is the line from the article. Again, it's on CBSSports.com regarding the coaching carousel, because you're right. It says, with a lacking supply of top coaching candidates, Florida's hesitancy. Thank you. Yes, too early to say tough words. To part with Dan Mullen crystallizes. The article is not all about Dan Mullen. It does use that kind of as the centerpiece, but the paragraph in here, it would say there has been such a glut of coaching changes in recent years that college football is running low on big name inventory among schools, Patrick, among schools that could be considered among the top 20 jobs in the country. 8 have made changes in the last 7 years. Southern Cal, Texas, and LSU will have done it twice Florida could become the fourth such top 20 job to change hands twice since 2016 if a change is made. So it tells you that the waiting period in college football, I mean, we're kind of seeing it. Look, we knew South Carolina had a rebuild in front of it. Shane Beamer certainly had an uphill task, especially when you look at the programs around him in Clemson and Georgia and North Carolina that right now kind of box South Carolina in. You knew it would be an uphill battle, but you've already seen some unhappiness, some disgruntled fans, I guess, with everything is how you would phrase it. And it goes to show you it's not just at South Carolina that patience runs thin with college football programs. It's across the board in college football right now. It is the microwave society of we want it now, get it to us now. We don't have time to wait.
Well, and for certain schools, I mean, like look at Michigan. Michigan, if they get destroyed by Ohio State this year in 2 weeks, I mean, their fans aren't going to be happy. It seems like every couple of years they have a team that they feel like is good enough to compete with Ohio State. Then they get waxed, and everyone's like, okay, well, Jim Harbaugh's clearly not working out, and they lose all confidence in him, and they come back, and there's a bunch of hype again. And it just seems like there's a lot of programs that are really good, but there's such a clear top 5 right now in college football that people don't feel like their coach can get them to that next level, and they'll fire coaches that are winning 8, 9, 10 games every single year. It's just, I don't know. There's so few fan bases that are completely satisfied right now. It's Alabama, it's Clemson, it's Georgia, Cincinnati, and Ohio State and Oklahoma probably. And I don't know who else can say every single year, I absolutely love my head coach, and we've got our guy for the long haul.
There's not many. Again, it's Dennis Dodd on CBSSports.com. And I think it is a very interesting article because it's just an indictment on where college football is. It says when this coaching carousel stops spinning, there will be at least 11 changes at top 20 programs over the last 2 years, Patrick. 11 changes over the last 2 years amongst what he considers top 20 programs. He says increasingly the best coaches either have jobs in college or the NFL or recently retired or have comfortable gigs on television, such as a television analyst. Yeah. It's college football. Again, you look at Southern Cal, you look at LSU, you look at those two programs right now, marquee big name programs that have won national championships within the last 20 years. Southern Cal, after losing Pete Carroll, has kind of been wandering around the abyss out there in LA trying to get it right. We've seen Lane Kiffin, we've seen Steve Sarkisian wander through there. Clay Helton has come through. You've seen LSU win a national championship with Les Miles. You've seen them win a national championship with Ed Orgeron, and yet that fan base, I don't know who they're going to hire. I know a lot of Lincoln Riley stuff getting out there yesterday, and we'll see if that's the decision that he makes to get a fresh start, because you're right, Oklahoma, again, yesterday, falling to 13th in the college football playoff rankings, a one-loss Oklahoma team that a lot of people are very down on this year, and the quarterback situation that has taken place there with Spencer Rattler not developing in the manner that he should, Caleb Williams coming in and taking over, the lack of a run game at Oklahoma. So it's college football as a whole is in a very, very interesting place. Patrick, you're right. I think Clemson would be one of those programs, although message boards not necessarily the place to go for the rationale fan. But I've gotten on Clemson boards this year who have said Dabo Swinney's lost it. This is the run is over. That this is not what's going to keep happening under his watch year after year after year, because it's time to move on and make a change and get the next new fresh face in here and start the program over. I mean, people just patience in college football is not what it was 15 years ago, let alone 30 years ago.
No, but it does feel like the prevailing sentiment from Clemson fans is just Tony Ellitt's got to go. Yeah. We've had great quarterbacks and receivers and running backs, and anybody can make them look good, but it's not working now, and he's got to go just after being a hot head coaching candidate just last year, one of the hottest coaching candidates last year. And if Brent Venables decided, you know what, I can see the writing on the wall, things are going downhill at Clemson right now, it's time for me to make my move and be a head coach, where would he stand in the pecking order of candidates right now? Is he in tier 1, or is it just He's a career coordinator. No one
I
knows
always
if he
do
can lead a
1A. I
program.
always do 1A and 1B. I do 1A, which is your Matt Campbell's. I guess
Luke Fickle.
Luke Fickle's. Like your head coaches who have head coaching experience, and then 1B is your top coordinators. And I would assume that Brent Venables would be on that list. I mean, look,
Like if his agent made it known through the just the like agent world or talking to athletic directors, just putting feelers out there. I mean, is LSU looking at him? Is Virginia Tech considering Brent Venables as a head coach, or is he getting interviews there?
I think Virginia Tech would. The LSU athletic director.
Well, my cousin texted me yesterday, certain that Lincoln Riley's going to LSU. He's like, he's going to be the highest paid head coach, somewhere between $12 and $15 million a year. He's going to be the next head coach at LSU. It's done.
Scott Woodward is the athletic director at LSU. He came from Texas A&M. Woodward is a guy known for what they call big game hunting. He's going for a big name. Lincoln Riley fits that. He's going for the splashy hire. Yeah. Nothing against Brent Venables or any elite top-notch assistant coach right now, but Brent Venables is not going to be on LSU's list. Billy Napier, again, you talk about 1A to me being the current head coaches that have experience, 1B being the top assistants. Billy Napier is not on the radar for LSU right now, as you mentioned with Lincoln Riley, if that is indeed the guy, and that would open up another top 10 job there in Oklahoma, and you wonder where they would go to fill that if that situation arises. But Scott Woodward is a guy who's going to go after big name coaches. He wants the guy up there that he can point to the career record and the college football
at
playoff
Power
appearances.
5 level. They want to steal somebody from a Power 5 school who their school is very happy with.
Right.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, and look, I saw Brent Venables and Tony Elliott's name pop up yesterday on the Virginia Tech head coaching search. Both were on a list that I saw that didn't include Shane Beamer. So again, we're not going to get into that story, Shane Beamer and Virginia Tech this morning, because to us it's a non-story. There's really not interest on either side, I believe. Definitely not on Virginia Tech's, and according to Shane Beamer yesterday in his press conference, not on his either. We will let you listen to his comment just so you can hear it if you've not heard it in person. It's about 2 minutes long. But the bottom line is, you look across the board right now. Matt Campbell's a guy at Iowa State that again, a lot of people, Luke Fickle and Matt Campbell, Patrick, a lot of people kind of look at those two guys and go, oh yeah, they're just Big Ten bound. They can at some point in life, they're going to get the Michigan, the Iowa. I think it's Campbell that everybody thinks. I think it is Campbell who has the ties in with Kirk Ferentz. I could be wrong on that. It might be Fickle, who one of those two have ties to Iowa. And a lot of people think that it's just a waiting game for Kirk Ferentz, who's now the longest tenured head football coach in the country, or right there at it. Gary Patterson was right behind him. 803-404-6100 is how you can join us this morning. See a lot of you weighing in. Newberry Chris just saying, they can have, I think he's talking about Virginia Tech, they can have Tony Elliott, and certainly it would. And then John from Summerville saying if Clemson fired Dabo, they would return to mediocrity every year. I don't know about that, but at the end of the day, it's not going to happen. We're just using that as another example of a fan base that, look, it's a different era of college football, and you got to adjust. I personally think that if we were 10 years ago, I'll say 2010, and maybe it's a little bit prior to that, Will Muschamp would be back for year number 6. I think the level of patience with fan bases was more so 10 years ago, just 10 years ago, than it is today. And it definitely was 20 years ago. This is 20 years ago. There's no doubt in my mind, if this is 2001, Will Muschamp coming off those records that he did in 6 wins in 2 years, he would have gotten one more year to try and right the ship. But that's not the way college football is these days. Dan Mullen and Ed Orgeron are examples 1A and 1B. We'll continue talking about this if you want to weigh in this morning. 803-404-6100. How you can do so on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line or the Love Chevy phone line. Certainly, you can always join us on the Buford Lending live stream. Robin, Anthony, Craig, LeVar, DC, all up with us this morning. Dakar, welcome in everybody on the Buford Lending live stream. We got a busy show for you coming up 7:30 this morning. Former South Carolina running back Brian Maddox will join us again. We'll get his take on the running game for South Carolina, and maybe look on the other side as Auburn rolls in here with big bad Tank Bigsby for the game this coming weekend. And then at 8:20, Brian Matthews with Auburn Sports. It's the Rivals website for Auburn. Will join us at 8:20 to give us a breakdown. TJ Finley starting at quarterback. Anders Carlson, the kicker. Patrick, I'll get your take on that. How big of an injury is it when your field goal kicker goes down? That would seem to be something that's important. I just don't know where we place it in the level of importance, but we'll talk about that as we turn the page. South Carolina, Auburn this coming Saturday night at Williams-Brice Stadium. Clemson with a big one as well against Wake Forest Saturday afternoon at Memorial Stadium. You can weigh in on both of those games if you want to. Give us your take on the Clemson-Wake Forest game or on the South Carolina-Auburn game. Again, the injuries for Auburn and the lack of offense for South Carolina. We'll get into all that as we roll on. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
This is South Carolina head women's basketball coach Dawn Staley, and you're listening to the home of the Gamecocks, WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
1 week from today, it's not Thanksgiving, but it is the day the family arrives at the Gunner household for Thanksgiving. We're actually going to do Thanksgiving on Wednesday night so that everybody can split off and see other family members on Thursday. But we'll start everything with a Wednesday night Thanksgiving, and I got to admit, I'm pretty excited about that. That opens the door to almost 3 full days of Thanksgiving. The key for me is having the house clean. I want everybody to be impressed. I want the family to show up and be like, Bill, you work really hard. You get up early in the morning. You do the radio show. You take care of the kids. You coach Austin's basketball team. You do such a hard, and look at how beautiful your house is. They don't know the secret is Zero Res. Zero Res with their ZR water technology that is absolutely incredible and scientifically proven to get my carpet, my rugs, my tile upholstery insanely clean. I can't recommend the pros at Zero Res enough for the job they do for me. They will do it for you. Give them a phone call today to get that booking scheduled. 803-262-4020. You can book online, ZeroResColumbia.com right now. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119 when you mention my name, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. Again, that's 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119 when you mention my name, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. You can call them this morning and get the pre-Thanksgiving cleaning set up so the family thinks you are absolutely the best in the world, or maybe you want to do the post-Thanksgiving cleaning. That way, when they all leave, you don't have to worry about cleaning the carpets, the rugs, the tiles, the upholstery, everything that they're going to make a mess on. 803-262-4020, or you can book online, ZeroResColumbia.com. Get Zero Res out to your house with the ZR water, the patented technology that uses high pH electrolyzed water, not harsh chemicals, and no sticky, soapy residue will be left behind. 803-262-4020 or online, ZeroResColumbia.com. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
I think audio, when you pull up a website that just starts playing on some hot takes, is the most annoying thing
Yeah.
that's out there right now. Like, all I did was pull up the Virginia Tech Scoop site. This is actually pretty interesting. Where is Mike Elko? Mike Elko is the defensive coordinator at Texas A&M. Good morning, Chuck. Welcome in. Travis, I don't know. Here's the thing with going to tonight's game. It's going to be such a blowout. I mean, did anybody see who the Clemson Patrick? Do you know who the Clemson ladies lost to the other night?
Presbyterian.
Actually, if I saw this correctly, they are lower than Presbyterian.
No, then I don't know. Newberry.
I believe they're on par. They might be lower than Newberry. I believe
Anderson University.
I think they could be lower than Anderson. They lost to Columbia College, and I don't think it was. They lost to Columbia College.
This Columbia College?
I actually think so. It just says Columbia.
No, well, that's Columbia in the Ivy League.
Okay, still not a good loss. So no, you're right. Not on the Anderson Newberry level, but maybe a step ahead of Presbyterian.
Ivy League, yeah.
Like barely a step ahead of Presbyterian. So yeah, I mean, again, like it's gonna be it's gonna be a beating.
This person that just called said Bobo's smart. He knew that Muschamp wasn't going to last at South Carolina, so he took the job thinking that Muschamp would get fired, then he'd become the head coach. And then when he didn't become the head coach, he left.
I guess he didn't want to go on the radio with that hot take, or just the fact that we weren't discussing that. And
no, he started the call by saying, "Oh, I thought Jen Jensen would answer the phone. Jen and I talk from time to time." It's like, yeah, I'm sure she enjoys those talks. We always talk about how much we love when people just call to talk off the air.
Just call to talk.
Yeah.
Just call to check on you this morning.
It's actually nothing I hate worse in this job than people that just want to talk off the air. Not with the phone line.
You should just start talking about breakfast sandwich. I tried Wendy's breakfast yesterday. Have you given Wendy's breakfast a shot yet?
Yeah, I like their sandwiches.
I went with that little bacon. To me, it was a break. It was a break. I mean, I guess this is a stupid comment, but I guess the way they cooked it, some breakfast sausage biscuits are different. Like a Bojangles, we'll be at Bojangles. If any of y'all want to come out next Tuesday, we'll be at the Bojangles by the stadium. The garnet wrapped Bojangles by the stadium next Tuesday morning, doing the show. But like the Wendy's breakfast, I thought it was like eating a junior bacon cheeseburger, like just a breakfast version of it, basically with an egg on it. Basically, was all it was. Like I thought it was. The home fries were good. The home fries weren't
No, I
bad.
don't like them. I don't
Really?
like them. Too thick. I don't like potato
Yeah,
wedges.
yeah, I
don't
like
potato
more-
wedges.
I like. Well, you are right. Mine, I had a whole bunch of like kind of thin, crispy ones.
Yeah, the thin crispy ones could be okay, but I'm all about just hash browns, tots, crowns.
I do.
Crispy. Yeah, that's all I want.
We'll be snacking on some Bojangles. You can't go wrong with a Bo biscuit, and you can't go wrong with a Cajun filet biscuit.
We're gonna see who can eat more Cajun filet biscuits in 3 hours.
You'll win. I can only eat one of those. Things are good, but
All right, we're back.
all right.
1075 The Game.
Eight 803-404-6100 is how you can join us this morning. I want to remind you to go to 1075thegame.com for our sweet bids auction going on right now. You can go into 1075thegame.com. It is that time of year where holiday shopping is starting to take place. Patrick, this is not a good feeling, by the way. It's November 17th, and I'm already feeling stressed out slightly
You should.
about my holiday shopping.
You should.
I mean, I am. Like, you don't have to tell me twice that I should. Like, I am. It's I don't know if it's helping, but let me tell everybody real quick before we go into holiday shopping. You can go to 1075thegame.com to bid on several items, like a sectional. I think I mispronounced that yesterday and drove up the price of the bid on that one. Sectional ottoman and sitting chair from Daniel's Fine Furniture. You can also bid on things such as a $500 gift certificate for Botox to Palmetto. I don't even know why I tried to pronounce this one. I wasn't going to get that one. Aesthetics. Does that seem right?
Let me pull up them right now. And I'll
Palmetto.
let you know.
Yeah, there you go. You can also set a chiropractic package, including the initial consult and 7 treatments for the KC Chiropractic Center, who you've heard me talk about, Dr. Pate, Dr. Roman Cooper. I know our buddy on the live stream, Chuck, went and visited them yesterday to get a little work done. So the bottom line, you can go to 1075thegame.com to bid on these items. The auction ends tomorrow at 4 p.m. Thursday, November 18th. So again, I know how some of you are. You wait to the last minute. Very smart, wise, shrewd move there. But there's a lot of great items over on this sweet bids auction. Just go to the 1075thegame.com website. You can click on the link to the sweet bids auction and go ahead and put your bid in. And then you got to monitor it for about another
1 day, 9 hours.
is that right? One day, 9 hours. Okay. So 33 hours. So you got that going for you. Anyway, go visit 1075thegame.com to bid. You get a pronunciation on that?
Aesthetics is right.
Aesthetics.
You nailed it.
Thank you. All right. Good start to the day then. Not a good start, though, to the Christmas. Yeah. Yeah, I'm already stressed out.
Yeah. Well, you should be because, I mean, you have time, but this is not the year to wait until December, the weekend before Christmas, to buy your gifts because they're not going to get there. Places are going to be sold out of stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost risky. My dad was saying yesterday that he was reading about how if you wait for Black Friday, they're going to run out of things, not going to be guaranteed to ship by Christmas. I'm almost done. I've been prioritizing it. I'm probably going to get the last of my stuff before the end of the weekend.
Yeah, see, I don't think Chuck's paying attention to what's going on the live stream. Chuck weighs in, he says, Amazon, no fuss, no hassle, no stress, makes it so easy, and no fighting the crowds. It's not the fighting of the crowds. It's the supply chain that's going on out there and trying to get the items. Like Amazon, I think if I wanted to go and order something, I think I still got time. But I believe right now with Amazon, like even the wait times, I type in Amazon.
It depends what you're getting from Amazon, because Amazon obviously has their own stuff, and that you'll probably have no problem getting if it's just generic things. But there are certain things that they sell. It says you go on the product and it says shop from these sellers. And if you buy from certain sellers, it might take a while. And they are sold out from things. You'll look and you'll go to the checkout page and it'll say back ordered and ordered by today, and you'll get it in like January. Like there's plenty of things on Amazon that they're sold out of, basically.
Has everybody made the switch to a PS5 at this point? I got the 9-year-old, the boy, and I feel like he's perfectly fine. But I was talking to somebody last night, and they were bringing up the PS5, and I was
know.
waiting a little bit longer. Like I can wait a little bit longer on that, right?
I don't know enough about it because I do know they for a while will probably be continuing to make PS4 games,
Right.
but there's going to be a point where PlayStation just says, okay, all we have is PS5 games now, and you're going to be forced to do it. I still have an Xbox One, but I don't play video games. All I use it as is another streaming service. But the PS5, you also have to pay extra if you want to put discs in it,
Yeah.
which I'll never stop using my DVDs. So
You
I
do
need
have.
the
I still have
DVD.
your Space Jam
Yeah,
DVD. We appreciate it. It's actually in the car. If you
Probably
like it back,
from like the first month that I was
Yes.
here.
it's a very kind gesture, and it was a lesson. You never loaned me anything after that. 803-404-6100. How you can join us if you want to weigh in South Carolina and Auburn this weekend, or if you want to weigh in on Clemson and Wake Forest. Yeah, Todd weighs in. Order anything through Amazon that they have in stock. Use Amazon Prime. It's delivered within 48 hours. Thank you. And then anonymous texter says, good luck finding a PS5. They're affected by the semiconductor shortage that's hitting computers and cars. Okay, how about that?
I thought we were talking about the conductor of like a train.
No, we're not. We don't have a shortage of those. We have
Semiconductor?
a bunch of those in back on just backed up right now, just waiting to find a train to get on. We're good with the conductors. And then another anonymous texter. This is exactly why I like the radio program. I get parenting advice from people I've never met in my life, and I appreciate this. Thank you, anonymous texter. A PS4 will suffice for now. Almost impossible to get a PS5, so it makes me feel good.
Craig said on the live stream, decided to skip gifts this year and take a trip instead, ski trip instead. I love that idea. I would so much rather go on a trip than get gifts, but I guess with kids, you have to give them something.
Well, one of my big gifts last year to the kids was we were going to take a cruise.
Right.
We were going to do a cruise in August, and obviously a lot of that got shut down. And so now the cruise is for 2022 in August. I'm going to do that.
But either way, you feel like they have to have at least something.
Can I give them back that again? Like,
Yeah.
hey, you didn't get your cruise in 2020. Here's your, Christmas morning. Like,
Yeah, it's coming.
Well, it's a tiny boat. Just give them wrap up a boat. Okay. 803-404-6100. Again, if you want to weigh in on Christmas gifts or if you want to talk sports this morning, we're up for that. That's perfectly fine. South Carolina versus Auburn this coming weekend. And look, there is Clemson Wake Forest. This is a big game. And I will be tuned into that, Patrick, come Saturday afternoon. Get out and do a little tailgating. I'm kind of excited about some tailgating this coming Saturday. I'm interested also to see what the crowd will be like at Williams-Brice Stadium. The Florida game, you were there. You had a bunch of friends there. It was a good crowd. I did not attend. We had a soccer tournament that day. I did not attend and watch the game that night at the house. The upper deck corners were empty again. I kind of expect that. But what are we expecting from South Carolina's crowd on Saturday afternoon for this, or Saturday evening for this game?
Not a lot.
Really? Is that you're the opinion?
I don't want to go at all. I mean,
Okay.
is it going to be cold?
It's not supposed to be. I mean, I think it was expected
right
colder weather at the Florida game. I'll get up your weekend weather report here in just a second via my phone.
I mean, I don't know why it would be better than the Florida game, because you're coming off another loss. There's Clemson next week. They're both at night. If you're thinking about going to one more game for the rest of the year, I assume people are going to want to go to the Clemson game. Did Shane Beamer make a plea to the fans?
Yeah, he always
yesterday?
does. Yeah.
I didn't know if it was, because sometimes they sound a little more like, after the Florida game, it was almost like, hey, thanks to the fans that were there. Weren't too many of you guys, but thanks to the ones that were there. I was wondering if there were going to be any passive aggressive sort of.
No, he didn't
shots.
do that. Yeah, the high on Saturday for tailgating will be 61. The low will be 39 during the day. Saturday night, it's expected again to get down about 39 degrees late. But yeah, it should be actually really nice on Saturday night. Todd weighing in. Temperature Saturday night going to be in the mid 40s, guys. See, yep, not bad at all. You can bundle up, snuggle up a little bit for that. Should be a good game.
Yeah.
Anders Carlson, the kicker. Look, we've talked about. We'll talk more about in the next
Is it
hour.
Anders or Anders?
I'm going to go with Anders because I live in America. That's so he gets the pronunciation that I use, and plus I'm poor with it to begin with. But the bottom line is, when we talk about a kicker injury, and right now TJ Finley, I don't know what to expect. We'll catch up with Brian Matthews of AuburnSports.com coming up at about 8:20 this morning, and we'll get his take on it. But when you hear the words a starting kicker injury, do your ears perk up? Does your eyebrows raise? Do you think, hey, this gives us a little bit more of a chance now because maybe they have to go for it on a few more fourth downs, or we just
they have a
shrug that
kicker,
one
right?
off?
Yeah, I shrug it off. They have a backup kicker, right?
I'm sure they got a backup kicker.
I mean, I
Sure
find
there's-
it to be a bigger deal in the NFL where you only carry one kicker. If a guy gets hurt in the middle of the game and the punter's got to kick field goals or vice versa, I would assume that college teams have a decent backup kicker.
Ben Patton has kicked one field goal this year. He's kicked one extra point, has not kicked a field goal.
Okay. Well, I mean, I would think that maybe it's advantageous if you're at like the 20-yard line and it's a 4th and 7 or 8 or something like that, and maybe they decide we'll just take our chances with a fourth and intermediate. But I mean, as a storyline, I don't.
I don't know.
think
I'm
about
asking.
it
I'm
much,
I'm asking. 803-404-6100. Like, it is interesting. Ben Patton. And look, I don't know if this game will even come down to kicking field goals or getting stops. That is the one thing you look at this game. If South Carolina can stop Auburn inside of the 20 and forced field goals. Ben Patton is, I'm guessing, the kicker here who that South Carolina would see. He's never kicked a field goal. He's kicked 3 extra points. He has 3 extra points. And it's kind of just a funny thing to bring up and say, like, is a kicker injury something that completely changes your opinion or your mindset of, say, the spread or the line? 803-404-6100. We will talk about that. Also, we'll get into the more pressing issue of TJ Finley playing quarterback, what he did to South Carolina last year, but also what you can expect from him on Saturday night. Again, coming up at 7:30 this morning, Brian Maddox that's actually didn't realize what I did there. Brian Maddox, former South Carolina running back who's joined us before. 8:20, Brian Matthews of auburnsports.com. So we'll get you the South Carolina and the Clemson perspective, or the Auburn perspective this morning as we roll through. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
107.5 The Game is omnipresent and free of charge.
Troy, I did not see the leaked audio there. I did not. Yeah, Craig, it is interesting defending 4th down 5 or 6 times. I don't know. I know nothing about this kicker. For all I know, be fantastic. Patrick David apologizes for his off-air conversation about Mike Bobo.
Just tell him get on the air.
He's on the live stream. You can tell him.
Where? David,
You got to go back up. He says, yeah.
get on the air. You don't have to stay on the phone long. Can't stay on the phone long, dude. Dude, we'll get you on quick.
It's true. We will.
We'll get you
You
on
tell
quick. If it's not the bottom of the hour or we have a guest, we'll get you on. We'll do it. We love callers. Oh yeah, another.
Oh, you got this guy Adam on there.
He knows what's up.
Yep.
I just got the schedule for this winter. I work every Sunday,
Woo.
so I just don't get weekends anymore. Next week I have to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, and then every Sunday for the rest of the year. So everything sucks now.
Oh, you get a grumpy carrot every morning, everybody.
Yeah, I don't get a weekend.
Well, I'm not saying that's fun.
I could not believe that. And I work two Saturdays probably.
2 Saturdays.
Yeah.
I wonder if shipping is up overall as compared to, like, say, years past. Think you can dig into that, get some numbers on whether shipping as a whole is up overall
From where?
from like family to family. Like
I don't know. It's a good question.
from family to family is shipping up. I'm starting to notice as we do this that this studio feels dark. Like for 19 months, I could tell when the sun was coming up, and I don't really pay attention to the background on the live stream and what's going on behind me. So I don't ever notice when the sun's coming up, as opposed to when I was at the house and could turn around and look. That was a quick one.
Next Tuesday, listen closely. Patrick and I will be out at the Bojangles on Bluff Road, the Garnet Bojangles on Bluff Road. We will be stuffing our face with Cajun filet biscuits, with Bowberry biscuits, with what else? Sausage biscuits.
Yeah, we're gonna have a contest. Who can fit the most bow
No, we're
rounds
not
in
going to
their
do
mouth?
that. I'm going to lose that. I'm not going to do that. But I will eat a lot of food. You can join us 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. next Tuesday. No better way to start off your Thanksgiving week. I know a lot of you aren't working on Wednesday to begin with, so no better way to start off your Thanksgiving week than to swing by the Bojangles on Bluff Road next to Williams-Brice Stadium and say hello to Patrick and I as we broadcast live.
What time do they open? Do they open at 6?
I think they open at 5. They will be open at 6. They will be open at 6. I have no doubt in my mind the folks at Bojangles will take care of us. Rock Lucas did take care of us last week. He was there at 5:45, letting us in at Charwood Golf Club. We appreciated him for being there so that we didn't have to do the show outside. Appreciated the hospitality of everybody there at Charwood Golf Club. Next Tuesday, we take the show on the road over to Williams-Brice Stadium to the Bojangles, the garnet-wrapped Bojangles. If you haven't seen it, you need to come by and see it. You need to come by and see us as well. That'll be next Tuesday. Myself and Patrick Perrette from 6 a.m. and to 9 a.m. over at the Bojangles on Bluff Road, hanging out with you. We'll have maybe some tickets to give away, some items to give away, and you can come by and get some delicious breakfast. Maybe go ahead and put that order in for your tailgate on Saturday for South Carolina and Clemson. That's all next Tuesday, so don't get too excited just yet. You got a few days to go, but do want to let you know about that. 803-404-6100. A couple of you weighing in. And we'll get into this in the next hour because this text popped up and we've already gotten a phone call about it. Tyson weighed in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. He says, I think the blood is still wet on the scalpel TJ Finley used to dissect our defense last go around. I don't think it comes down to a kicker unless Auburn trots Halby and the Worry go out on the D line. The kicker has an easy night. But my question is, do South Carolina fans, because of what happened last year and the reputation that Will Muschamp and Travaris Robinson were developing with that defense, do they have more faith that the game, that Clayton White can slow down TJ Finley, that Clayton White's defense will give TJ Finley more problems than South Carolina did to LSU last year?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think watching that game, I was just amazed how easy South Carolina made it for TJ Finley. He wasn't making incredible throws. It just felt like wide open slant route, dink and dunk, just guys running after the catch, and just made it the easiest first start anyone could ever imagine in an SEC game.
We'll get into that. We'll talk a little bit about that. South Carolina Auburn set for Saturday night at Williams-Brice Stadium. We will get into all that and more. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Oh, DC's there with you. Waddy, I don't know if you heard from me the last 2 days. We picked up some beer, bacon, cheese from, I believe you said it was Yummy Creations. It was quite delicious. Went with it on some crackers. A couple Tostitos to give it a shot, but crackers by and large. Some pita, some of those pita chip crackers that you can get. I think maybe Toll House. Can't remember. But it was kind of delicious. Pretty delicious. I would definitely recommend. If you haven't had it, I highly recommend it. And I could be saying it right. But I think it was beer, bacon, cheese is what we had. Yeah, it was pretty good. Patrick, are you a cheese? Are you a cheese kind of like will you eat different cheeses? Or you crackers?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was pretty good. Worth the price of admission. I give it 2 thumbs up. It was pretty good. And I get yelled at a lot for good people making good dinners and asking me like, "Hey, what'd you think?" I'll be like, "It was pretty good. Yeah, it was good." Like I guess they expect me to stand up and start dancing or like have a confetti gun if it's like a great dinner. You show like when I say yeah, it's pretty good. That's always a pretty big compliment as opposed to
It's the pretty.
Yeah, I think my use of the word pretty offsets it. It was good. Good morning, Robin. Yeah, Troy, there will not be any major contest next week aside from just enjoying good food next Tuesday. There's nothing worse than a host choking on a Bowberry biscuit or a biscuit and trying to do the radio show.
That would be incredible radio.
Oh, it wouldn't.
Especially on a live stream. It'd be unbelievable.
Actually, my knees feel pretty good today. I feel like I use that icy hot like rolling stuff. You know what I'm talking about, Patrick? You got that like icy hot. Feel pretty good today. Maybe we're turning a corner and getting healthy. Oh, sentiment. No, see, this is where things go down. Now, well, you do have Brian Glenn on. I will touch base with Brian before Friday to see what the pizza is that I think we'll be eating. But it sounds like he's very excited that we've included him and given him free reign over whatever he's going to do to the slices of pizza. By the way, we'll live stream it, but the early plan is the loser of the you have to work on December 5th, Patrick? Was that one of the days? What time?
Like probably 8 or 9 p.m.
Okay, so you'd be able to come to you'd be good to be at Village Idiot at like noon then for the paying off of the bet.
Yep.
Hey, look, yesterday I said you could go bid on a sexual couch. Choking on a biscuit is not going to be any worse than that. Still don't want to do it. I really should have made more fun of that, although at the moment I kind of freaked out when I said it. I guess you want these phone numbers. Yeah, that was. I wish I'd have done a better job of that, RL, and actually rolled with that. Patrick, we got 2 breaks this hour.
Yeah.
Oh man. I made sure in the first hour to pronunciate the sectional. true. That's the smaller of the two, though. Not everybody can fit on a love seat. Sometimes you need the extra big love seat. Yeah, it was something.
Wait,
I just imagine little kids on their way to school asking their parents, "Mommy, Daddy, what's a sexual couch?"
I was forgetting. Don't leave Jen hanging. Yeah, I mean, I don't come to studio live shows, and I don't know why. There's absolutely no reason for that plug to be unplugged ever, but for some reason one of the afternoon guys unplugged our plug, so we didn't get callers for the first hour. Had to FaceTime Jen to fix it.
What are you talking about today?
No, last week when we were trying, when the plug was unplugged and we couldn't get get callers on. I don't know if they still have it, but the potato bowl is one of my favorite breakfasts at any fast food establishment.
What now?
The potato bowl. It's base layer of bow rounds, sausage, egg, cheese, and gravy in a bowl. It's incredible. Not those afternoon guys. One of the afternoon guys. There's 2, 4, 5 of them. I don't know which one it was.
Yeah, we treat them like those afternoon guys. One of them.
All right, how do you want to do this?
Quick and easy.
Are we keeping?
I said 7:30, but we'll aim for more of 7. We'll aim to be back more around 7:35ish, 7:38ish. So it'll be more of 7:40 for him. I've said 7:30, but does that make sense? What I'm telling you?
That makes sense. What you're telling me.
Well, if this ever airs.
On 107.5, The Game.
$7:03 on your Wednesday morning commute. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrett, Jen Jensen, little injury. She had a little injury she was playing through. She had a little surgery. She'll be back. Maybe tomorrow, or she'll take another day off. With Jen, you just never know. We got the text message. What, Patrick? About 8:00 last night.
Yep.
That seemed right. Yeah. With Jen, you never really know. She just kind of does her own thing.
I'm always ready to fill in a pinch, though.
You are
like all great backups.
That's right. You are the Scarnecchia of radio producing backups. We're proud of you.
And yeah,
you come off the bench ready to go, just fired up to be in there. So Jen may be back tomorrow, or may take another day off. We don't. If you question her, you get smacked with a bag of oranges over the back of the head. So we don't
it's
ever.
Okay, I like being behind the board. I like controlling things.
You do, yeah.
I don't like reading traffic, and I don't like screening calls. But other than that, I like being behind the board.
Yeah. Jen should be back tomorrow, and we'll be in studio again. Reminder: next Tuesday we will be out at the Bojangles on Bluff Road. You can come by and join us 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and enjoy some great Bojangles breakfast. We'll even let you on air. Bring the kids. Bring Trey. Bring young Sean. Bring all the kids. Just we'll serve as like a daycare during the morning. We'll let Patrick tell them, give them a story time.
If anyone's in a Bojangles drive-through this morning, ask if they have the potato bowl still.
The potato bowl.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we can get
we're just us and let us know if they still have it.
Using the radio for our own personal gain this morning. 803-404-6100. How you can join us if you'd like to this morning. Bill Gunner again, Patrick Perrett. It is the early game as we count down South Carolina Auburn on Saturday night. Clemson and Wake Forest, the early game up there at Memorial Stadium. It'll be kind of interesting to see that game. We'll get into that one a little bit because Clemson is a favorite And, certainly we're going to do our share of breaking down of the South Carolina-Auburn game. That game certainly very important. 6-4 Auburn, South Carolina obviously 5-5 and trying to become bowl eligible. But there's a level of intrigue for that Clemson-Wake Forest game. If Wake Forest wins, they will definitely clinch the opportunity to go on to clinch the divisional championship, go on and play for the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship on December 4th, I believe is the correct date. If Clemson wins, look, it's not been the season that Clemson's wanted. There's no question about that. But Clemson wins, you get to 8-3. You got a chance to obviously win against South Carolina and then a bowl game. 10 wins for a team that, about mid-October, a lot of us were ready to write off as maybe not even becoming bowl eligible or having a very down season. I think Clemson fans would gladly take a 10-3 year as the down year, and we'll kind of talk about that. So the Wake Forest game, certainly very intriguing for the Tigers this coming Saturday, 12 o'clock ESPN at Memorial Stadium. Justin Ross is out for this week's game due to a foot injury. Not sure what his availability will be for the South Carolina game. Did see some people suggesting that he will be out regarding the South Carolina game as well, but that is what it could end up being. We'll get to more of that. But if you want to weigh in on Clemson and Wake Forest, even if you're a South Carolina fan and your love affair with Wake Forest for this coming weekend, especially at noon, totally understand. If you're a South Carolina fan and you want to weigh in on the South Carolina-Auburn game for this coming weekend. Patrick, what is more intriguing to South Carolina fans, or what are you more concerned with? TJ Finley, who there's just nightmares of right now, or the Auburn defensive line? Because every defensive line, just with the exception of Florida, has given South Carolina nightmares. If you're a South Carolina fan, you've got to stop one. Is it the defensive line for Auburn, or is it TJ Finley? Ideally, you stop both. So if you're the fan out there driving your car, going, we're gonna stop both. But if you, what concerns you more? Because I feel like TJ Finley and Tank Bigsby, maybe throw Tank Bigsby in there. Behind that, I think I don't have his actual stats right in front of me from last year.
700 from last year.
From last year, I think he was close to 100. I don't know if he went over 100 last year against South Carolina in that ball game. If he didn't go over, he was very close. It kind of got lost in the mix of Bo Nix continuously throwing at J.C. Horn all game long and then yelling at his wide receiver. But what concerns you more, the Auburn defensive line or TJ Finley and Tank Bigsby?
Well, I think the Auburn defensive line concerns you more. But if you said, hey, we can either shut down TJ Finley and eliminate him, or we can run the ball really well against Auburn's defensive line, I think people would actually pick shutting down TJ Finley, because this far in, 10 games in, the book is written on this season and the offense, which we're going to look back and say this was a terrible offensive team. And at this point, I feel like people do not even want to see the offense light it up for the next 2 weeks, because then it's going to make you reconsider everything that you've seen all year. It's going to make you reconsider the offensive coordinator and whether or not he should be allowed to return next year. And I think people almost at this point just want to say, look, we had a good defense. The defense played well against Clemson and Auburn. It is what it is. We're happy with Clayton White. We're happy with that group. They played better than expected, but the offense just needs a complete overhaul. I think that's where we're at right now, is just no matter what, you gotta revamp the entire offense. You probably need a new quarterback. You probably need 5 new starters on the offensive line, and you need a new play caller too. So at this point, just stick with what we know. Bad offense, good defense, and we'll start it all over next year. Hopefully you can win a low-scoring game. Maybe the defense scores. Maybe you block another punt. South Carolina hasn't blocked a punt in a while, so maybe you do something like that, and that's how you squeak out a win. Get bowl eligibility.
Last year, just to remind you of the Auburn stats, it's weird to try and go back and forth on this a little bit, because you got the Auburn game, but then you also, with TJ Finley, you throw in the LSU game because of his stats and what he did. But in the Auburn lost to South Carolina last year, 30-22, in which South Carolina scored 13 third-quarter points. Bo Nix threw it 47 times, Patrick. I mean, just the really questionable play calling to begin with. Bigsby last year, 16 carries for 111 yards in that ball game and a touchdown. So he was racking up some yards, had a 6.9 yard per carry average. Bo Nix was 24 of 47 for 272 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. It was one of the more efficient games that Colin Hill played. 15 of 24, 144 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Shi Smith with the touchdown reception. Shi Smith was fantastic in that game. 8 receptions, 76 yards. Kevin Harris really got going. Didn't have 100 yards, but South Carolina, it was a Mike Bobo called game. This is the kind of game that you would expect from Mike Bobo last year in the victory over Auburn. South Carolina had 43 rushes, 37 of which came by Kevin Harris or Deshaun Fenwick. There were 25 carries by Kevin Harris for 83 yards and 2 touchdowns. Deshaun Fenwick, who I thought was wildly underrated, had 12 carries for 68 yards. The defensive line by Auburn, you can get after them. This is not the world's greatest defensive line in terms of stopping the run. South Carolina, if they will come out on Saturday night, I like the shotgun formation. I asked Michael Scarnecchia yesterday. It was kind of interesting because I thought the answer would be different when it came down to what maybe a quarterback preferred. I thought being in the shotgun and being able to look over the defense. Now, maybe that's just Scarnecchia and what he prefers, but he mentioned kind of like being under center more so that he could look at the defensive tackle and see what gap, be able to look directly over and see what gap they were in. South Carolina, obviously, was Florida. Florida gave up 52 to Samford last week. I don't know if we can use that as a measuring stick anymore or a baseline of what South Carolina could do. But I liked the shotgun formations with Trey Jones as the fullback in those and running the power sets out of that as opposed to the I formation or going under center.
Well, I know that when you talk about being under center, the timing on the running game is better that way, is what you always hear, because the running back can get a downhill start and it just times out better than catching in the shotgun, handing it to him while he's standing still, and then he gets going and starts running downhill. But I don't know that it's a big enough difference for it to truly matter. But that's what I've always heard about the I formation. And I mean, logically, it makes sense. You can kind of watch them get up to speed, and the timing is just really, really good when you can snap it under center and turn, and he's got a head of steam before he touches the ball.
Yeah. Again, what Marcus Satterfield does, look, definitely your opinion has to change a little bit of the South Carolina offensive success against Florida after watching Samford put up 52 points last week and really being able to put that game into more of an interesting one as opposed to Florida just blowing out Samford. But the bottom line is South Carolina has got to go back, in my opinion, to the power run game on Saturday night. Now, you also brought up an interesting point that Shane Beamer kind of closed his press conference on yesterday. Jason Brown has had the very steady game against Florida. Didn't make any mistakes, made 2 really good plays, the scramble plays that he found Josh Van on to keep drives alive and make big plays, 60-yard pass down the side, the touchdown pass to Van. Last week, I don't know. He threw some bad interceptions. He threw some bad ones. There was one in particular that actually got called back because of I think they called a holding. They called a pass interference, but it might have been a holding. It was a well underthrown ball to Josh Van. Actually, on the next play is when he fumbled and Trajan Jeffcoat jumped on it. But Jason Brown wasn't awful last week, but he was below average. I think that's fair. You've had the above average game, the below average game. Now you get game number 3. And here's why it really becomes a little bit more interesting, Patrick, because this should be his. Once again, the rest of the game should be his to see what he's got. As Shane Beamer said yesterday, he's got another year of eligibility. And at least right now, Shane Beamer said, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he's leaning toward coming back. And Jason Brown has shown me enough that if I was to look at Jason Brown and Luke Doty, right now, Luke being the younger quarterback, Jason Brown having another year of eligibility, I'd kind of lean toward, if the season were to conclude in January after a bowl game, Jason Brown being the slight favorite to get the starting job going into the spring. Now, it'll be a quarterback battle. I don't think there's any question about that. But at least through 2 games, I've seen a little bit more from Jason Brown than I have from Luke Doty. It's not significant though.
I would probably agree with that. I mean, I would think it was basically a toss-up if Luke gets fully healthy and comes back with a year of experience and stuff to learn from. And you haven't seen much from either of them. You still got to get another person in the building to compete with them,
right? In
addition to a freshman in Braden Davis, you need another experienced quarterback to come compete, whether that's it's not you can't bring in another Zeb Nolan situation. You got to bring in a legit quarterback and not another FCS guy. Try and find someone from the Power 5 that's played big time football before.
You're going to have the options are going to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, the options are going to be that the quarterback transfer portal will be very interesting this season. We'll continue talking about this if you want to weigh in, especially on the quarterback situation is another interesting piece to Shane Beamer yesterday talking at his press conference with the media, just reminding everybody or telling everybody, hey, yes, Jason Brown does have a year of eligibility remaining, and it's likely he will use it after this coming year. So what does that make you think about the quarterback situation? We can get into TJ Finley as well. Coming up in about 20 minutes, we'll catch up with Brian Maddox, former South Carolina running back who now lives here in town, working hard, and will give us his take on what he has seen from South Carolina the last few weeks. And then coming up at about 8:20 this morning, Brian Matthews from auburnsports.com on the Rivals Network. You can hear him as well as we break down what's going on regarding Auburn and getting prepared for South Carolina this weekend. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
More of the early game coming up on 107.5 The Game.
Tired of pain, tired of being told that you need surgery and that's the only way to fix it? That's not the case. You need to call QC Kinetics today. Get in touch with them at 803-281-6860 and see what they can do for you. If you've been experiencing issues with muscles, with ligaments, with tissues, you got some issues down in your knees, like yours truly, don't wait around. Get your quality of life back. If you've been told that surgery is the only option, there is a better alternative, such as regenerative medicine. It is the technique that QC Kinetics is using with no steroids, no opioids. It's at the forefront of medicine these days. And if you haven't heard about it, you can get a free consultation. You just need to go to their website, qckinetics.com. That's QCKINTIX.com. Or make a phone call today and check out what they can do for you. Get an appointment scheduled and get that free consultation. 803-281-6860 is the way you can do that. Such a wide array of natural, biologic, medical treatments are available through QC Kinetics. You don't have to worry about surgery, and that's the big thing. None of us want to be cut on, be out for a couple of weeks, especially with Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up. You want to be able to be mobile, get around, hug your aunt, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, whomever. You want to give them hugs. You want to be glad you can see them again at Christmas time. You don't want to be strapped to a chair, not be very mobile during Christmas. You want to be able to go through the buffet on your own, not have the kids bringing you a plate. They always shortchange you on the turkey. Get healthy today with QC Kinetics. 803-281-6860. Again, get rid of the inflammation in your knees, in your joints, in your arms, wherever it may be. If you got those muscles, ligaments, or tissue issues, give QC Kinetics a phone call today and get a free consultation. 803-281-6860. Yeah, Jason, the power running game out of the spread formation. That's what it's actually worked. It's worked against pretty much everybody. Not the spread formation. Not the spread formation out of the I formation or single back. I mean, if you go back and watch when they've had success, it's been the power run game out of the spread formations. And I don't remember who it was we had the other day who said that they need to, or where I heard it, but they need to do more of the power formations with actually spreading them out, sending the wide receivers to the outside instead of doing the bunch formations. What only worked because of Josh Vann? The power running game out of the
the power running game out of the spread formations worked only because of Josh Van? That doesn't make any sense. That's not why it worked. Josh Van was hurt for some of the games. Like, no, no. Like, if it was only because of Josh Van, then it would work on every formation, not just one. The threat of the pass is still there in under center plays. They've been better. The offensive line has been slightly better in run blocking. Out of the spread, as opposed to going under center with the two tights, which has just been brutal to watch. And on those, they've actually done more of the max protect, which still hasn't worked. So and we've really only seen the power formations twice, and one was against Tennessee when we saw success with when they ran the ball down Tennessee's throat, only to then have Jordan Burks throw a pass, which was neat. And then, even though it was Florida, and now we're learning Florida's not very good at defending, but they also used the spread formations against East Carolina. Again, it's East Carolina. Take it for what it's worth. I don't think they can go under center. The offensive line can't block well enough for them to go play action pass under center, which then eliminates both the pass and the run. Also, just any kind of perimeter plays would be nice. Just anything where they don't run between the tackles, because that really has
starting with Rich Eisen.
Not been successful.
Beginnings and humbling moments from inspiring people. Great, Kevin Harlan.
What I would love to do is call your 40 time at the combine for safety. That's what I want to do. And by the way, Kevin, and I'll think of weird stuff to say, and I'll do something for NFL Network.
Waddy, during Dan Patrick, we do not have to have anyone here. It's automated. During the Gamecock games, they're also automated, but we do need someone here just to kind of watch over it. So for men's basketball and football and baseball, we just sit here and make sure nothing goes wrong. But for women's basketball, we actually have to get on the board and run the breaks and everything like that. And Brad Muller I'm always talking to Brad Muller during the games while he calls them. I believe all of the board operation for the other sports, though, is done out of Winston-Salem, I think.
Right. No, you're right. You're right.
But of all the people that call games for Learfield, I'm going to say Brad Muller is the best, because what he does is very difficult. He does it all by himself. He records his own highlights during the game while he's calling them and plays them back all on his own. He's a machine. Women's basketball games.
Specials are available at most locations, so hurry in this week and celebrate our newest location. That's Tradition Fine Jewelers in Lexington, and now at Sandhill, where the Midlands get the gig.
I'll let Brian know that it'll be a little bit closer to 7:35.
Maintain and manage trees on the property. Their skilled crew offers customized solutions that match your needs. Tree trimming and tree removal can be dangerous. You can trust people who are doing the job. Before attempting to remove them, small Pioneer Tree Service, free flow. Remove them safely and make sure the future grows that you are away from potential trouble, such as roof lines and driveways. Cutting down trees takes more than a chainsaw.
That ain't all that impressive. Just sitting there in a chair, pushing the right buttons.
I think he's talking about Brad.
Oh, yeah, Brad's impressive. Yes.
No one to feed off of, calling the game. I don't know how he even records the highlights, but at halftime he plays them back, and literally all I have to do is hit start on the commercial breaks. I don't really do it anymore, though.
Canyon Military Academy fosters a level of brotherhood and provides a commitment to traditional educational values that is simply not found in any public school. For more information, please visit CanyonMilitaryAcademy.com. Learn how their cadets achieve their untapped potential in academics and life. Find out how your son can do the same. For more information,
Oh, there's a cat that's watching very intently on Twitter. Shane Beamer's press conference. Beamer's retweeting it this morning.
products and services from buying businesses beginning at 60 to 70% off retail, like parts from Sesso Chicken.
A lot going on here. Yeah, I agree. Offense will need a complete, probably an overhaul. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the offense after the Clemson game. Even if South Carolina does qualify for a bowl game, what the general, not the perception of the fan base is, but the perception of the head coach and what the offense may need to do.
We got a Bo Jackson old-timey clip today.
After 9.22 inches of rain in Birmingham the day and night before. Late in the third quarter, the weather started going downhill again, but not until after the legendary Bo Jackson put his stamp on this one with a 71-yard game-winning touchdown run. Here's Keith Jackson.
Andy Campbell gives to Bo Jackson. Jackson's on his way. Goodbye.
I miss old Keith Jackson. That was grew up listening to him.
71 yards for Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson is now run for 246 yards in this ball game, 2 touchdowns, his career best. Oh, my goodness.
And that's our old-timey clip of the day, sponsored by Old Timey Meat Market with 3 locations.
Old Keith Jackson.
South Congaree and St. Andrews Road in Irmo.
And now, back to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Next Tuesday, you can see Patrick and myself at the Bojangles on Bluff Road. Come out and enjoy a biscuit with us at Bojangles as we do the show. This Friday, though, you can join Heath Klein at Savage Craft Ale Works, 430 Center Street in West Columbia, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., where there will be free appetizers. You heard correctly. Free appetizers, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. You can also register to win a $250 gift card to Garnet and Black Traditions, T-Mobile, and 107.5 The Game, teaming up each and every Friday for you. And this Friday, you can go visit Heath Klein at Savage Craft Ale Works, 430 Center Street in West Columbia, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Again, free appetizers and a chance to register for a $250 gift card to Garnet and Black Traditions. That's Heath Klein this coming Friday at Savage Craft Ale Works in West Columbia, 430 Center Street is the address, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Go out, say hello, give them a South Carolina Auburn prediction. 803-404-6100, Cool Care Heating and Air text line. How some of you are weighing in this morning. Scott, and I haven't looked at the numbers. I doubt they're worse, Scott. I'll have to look. I'll have to confirm with you on this. But Scott says Jason Brown's sack numbers are worse, pretty much worse than Zeb's for a mobile quarterback. He doesn't make many positive gains in the running game. Everyone knows his one escape move at this point, and he is going to get himself in trouble with it these last 2 games. Patrick, 2 things about that. One, the positive. I'll do that positive thing first. I think what you like about Jason Brown and why you don't see a ton of it is a ton of positive gains in the scramble game from him is he keeps his eyes downfield and he's going to throw the football. And I'm not sure I say it's a positive thing because we've seen him hit a few passes. He's hit 2 long touchdown passes, or I say long, but relatively long touchdown passes to Josh Vann, one against Missouri, one against Florida. He had the long pass, obviously, to Josh Vann that everybody's still talking about, 60 yards there, or maybe only we're talking about. But the ability to scramble and keep his eyes downfield, I don't think he breaks the pocket looking to run that much. I think he breaks the pocket trying to keep his eyes downfield. Now, I do think he could pick up a few more yards, Scott, and that's where you go with, positive gains in the running game. Are there times he should probably just tuck it and get 2, 3, 4 yards most? Probably so, Patrick. You would agree with that?
Probably so. But, I think he's looking for the big play. And when you have a running quarterback, they feel like they can make a couple guys miss and make a big play out of it. I think Jason Brown's confident enough in his athleticism to break the pocket. I think he does not have enough confidence in his athleticism to make anybody miss in the open field.
Yeah, and he is a little bit more mobile than Zeb Nolan, but again, nobody is comparing him to Connor Shaw there in terms of breaking the pocket and taking off for 10 or 15 yards or more. The other point to that, Jason Brown did rely on that spin move. What is it back to his right? Am I thinking correctly there? I'm doing it in a swivel chair.
Yeah, it was the outside to the outside.
Yeah. That did because I don't know if it's pocket awareness because against Florida, I did see him step up in the pocket a few times and be able to throw the ball downfield. But I am with Scott on that one move where it's clearly a spin move back to his right. Yeah, that's something they got to work on this week and just get him doing something a little different. Thank you for weighing in on that. Mark weighs in. Got to stop Tank Bigsby's on runs and passes out of the backfield. Let Finley try to beat South Carolina deep. Patrick, Mookie Cooper got behind. We've seen South Carolina is there to be had deep right now.
Yep.
The back end of the secondary has been torched. I don't know if we've covered this enough. The defense has been better maybe than we expected. Maybe the secondary played a little bit better than they were expected at the beginning of the season. You go back to the Florida game. It wasn't like Florida had a ton of success offensively, but they crushed South Carolina deep early on. Mookie Cooper got wide open Saturday evening for the first Missouri touch. I think it was the first one. Might have been the second one. For his first touchdown as a Missouri Tiger, Mookie Cooper was a 5-star wide receiver out of St. Louis, originally went to Ohio State, transferred back to Missouri. Yeah, I don't know if you want to say let TJ Finley beat you deep because right now, unless South Carolina makes a major adjustment, Torian Gray and Clayton White, they are getting beat deep when teams want to take the shots downfield.
Yeah, but I'm not sure TJ Finley's ever proven that he can beat you deep. I don't think he. I mean, I can go back and watch the highlights. Maybe I'll do that before the end of the week of that LSU game. But everything was underneath. I don't even know if he looks or wants to push the ball deep. He does have a really strong arm, so it's not like he's incapable of doing it. I just can't recall ever seeing it. So if you think he's inaccurate deep, that's one thing. But it's not like Auburn doesn't have speed either. I mean, Demetrius Robertson is as fast as it comes in college football, even though I don't think he's really – I don't know that he's had a huge year, but – I don't think any of the Auburn receivers are all that good right now. I don't know anything about Kobe Hudson. Maybe we can ask Brian about that in the next hour. But I don't think this is a team that strikes fear into you throwing the ball vertically. Whereas that's kind of the book on Connor Bazelak. He's got a really good arm and likes to push the ball downfield.
And that goes to the rest of Mark's point there. He says Mike Bobo will want to establish the run. That's what Missouri did with Tyler Beatty last week. Obviously, he says that's what we needed to do. He said we needed to stop them. Obviously, they didn't think about doing it. I'm sure they thought about doing it. Look, South Carolina's defense against the run hasn't exactly been great. Patrick, that was the most amazing thing against Florida is that Dan Mullen either outthought himself or didn't like. I don't know what Dan Mullen was doing. I was worried going into the game that Florida, who can run the football effectively, didn't try to do it. I think they threw 10 straight passes to open the game. Chris Rodriguez went for 140 yards this year. Tyler Beatty goes for 209. Tyrion Evans had a big day. I don't know if he surpassed 100 yards. Tyon Hampshire or whatever. Who cares? He had a big day as well. They all had. I mean, honestly,
Tyrion Davis Price had a big game against you last year.
Tyrion. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. At the end of the day, South Carolina's not done a great job of stopping the run. And if they want to get Tank Bigsby lathered up and get him going, I don't like South Carolina's chances of even being able to stop the run if that's what they focus on. They've not been able to do it this year.
I agree. The defensive line has been getting a lot of credit, but we've talked about it earlier this year that, Enigbare, Jordan Strawn, they're pass rushers more than run stuffers. Like if you look at the analytic grades, like the PFF grades and all that stuff too, all of South Carolina's defensive linemen are getting high marks in the pass rushing category, but the run stopping category, they haven't been all that. And the linebacking group has been much maligned this year and, not a ton of talent there. It's not something we expected to be a standout group or anything like that. We thought the defensive line would be good. We thought the secondary would struggle with all those new pieces, and the linebackers left a lot to be desired as well. And that's just kind of how it's played out this year. The missed tackles haven't been crazy, but their guys are dragging linebackers down, and the defensive line's just they like to pin their ears back and rush the passer. They don't necessarily get after it in the run game like that.
803-404-6100. We'll catch up with Brian Maddox, former South Carolina running back. Get his take. He's joined us before. We'll get his take on what he's seen the last 2 weeks, the good, the bad, what else he thinks. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Dan Patrick. Weekdays, 9 until noon. On 107.
I think I got a different picture of Brian Maddox that should cover up the whole. Kind of like we had yesterday. I think that's what. Oh yeah, and that's the famous jumping over picture.
Yep.
We're learning a little bit there, figuring out the whole picture thing. You're gonna have to figure out too. Oops. Edit.
Figure out what?
I can't remember where I was going with that. I was putting in what I want here for this for the bottom part. Oh, we got to figure out the games you want to pick this weekend. You can go ahead and get those maybe. Let's go to career statistics here. I think Maddox had a. I feel like Maddox had a pretty decent game against Auburn. Was it 2010?
All right, good to go.
He's good to go?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Last spot here. Not.
Oh, really? We're back.
This one right here. This is the last spot. 30 seconds.
Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. And now, back to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Reminder that it is that time of the year. Holiday shopping is upon us. We've already discussed how I'm feeling pressure, and it's only November 17th to go ahead and get some gifts. I don't even have a Christmas tree yet, and I always am the person who feels like I need to have a Christmas tree before I buy gifts to put under. But this year, that might be a little bit different. It's probably definitely different for you. You can actually get some of those gifts right now and at really good prices. Go to the 1075thegame.com website where we have the Sweet Bids auction ongoing right now until tomorrow at 4 p.m. You can win, or you can bid on to win, a pair of palmetto tree earrings and bracelet from Lexington Jewelers, a Columbia Museum of Art friend package valued at $550, It is a great way to get the holiday shopping kicked off. Just go to 1075thegame.com to bid on our Sweet Bids auction. You can save a lot of money on some really, really great gifts. How about a $2,000 gift certificate to Sugar Creek Amish Furniture? Who knows? I have not looked this morning to see where that bid is at, but certainly if you can get that for $500 or $600, you might be able to save there about $1,400 or $1,500. So just go check it out. You're sitting around the office today. Let's be honest, it's Wednesday. You're probably already shutting down the work week. Go to 1075thegame.com, click on the Sweet Bids auction, and you can check out all the great items that are available right there on the webpage. And you can even bid on one. The auction ends tomorrow at 4 p.m. So get on over to 1075thegame.com to bid on our Sweet Bids auction taking place. Joined now on the Love Chevy phone lines by former Gamecock, I think it was a track athlete in the Auburn game. Brian Maddox figured he saw an Auburn player. It looked like a hurdle. We've got the picture up on the live stream, Brian, of you either doing a karate kick to the face or trying to jump over a guy. There's actually a really good picture in the background. If you start analyzing what's happening in the background as I look at this picture, Craig Fitzgerald is treating it like the greatest thing he's ever seen. I'm not sure if that looks like 48, who looks amazed at your athletic ability. The background of that picture actually is just as entertaining as I'm sure what was the play itself.
That's right. Good morning. How you doing?
Doing great. How are you doing this morning? And you last week were you in the tree stand, or were you were out in the woods? You were bow hunting. How does that? I'm not a hunter. How does that work?
Oh man, I love deer hunting. So after football was over, took up golf and deer hunting. So I spent a couple days in southeast Georgia, where my father-in-law, I got a 270-acre farm. So it's very low pressure. Saw a lot of deer, but you got to get pretty close and personal with these deer when you're bow hunting. So it's a challenge.
A discussion for maybe bring you in and give tips on exactly how to go about doing that. But we'll get your take this morning. South Carolina, a lot has changed since the last time we talked. There was a big win over Florida in which the run game looked very effective. There was then last weekend where it didn't. What did you see? Let's start with this. We had Michael Skarnecki on yesterday, and we were talking about some of the things in the offense. But from the Florida game to the Missouri game, from an expert like yourself, and you watch what they're doing in the run game, did you see differences in how Marcus Satterfield and the offense chose to attack Florida with the run game versus how they chose to attack Missouri?
Yeah, I mean, things are different each week. They probably had our number on the run game, obviously. I think White only had 60 yards and a touchdown or something like that on 10 carries. We didn't attack them from an offensive line standpoint as good or as much like we did against Florida. It's a week in and week out. You just got to have that motor going in order to beat these teams and win in the SEC especially. So, I mean, yeah, it was a difference, but I just saw a little difference in the offensive line, to be honest with you. And if I was a coach, which I'm not, I would have fed White the ball a little more, because he had the hot hand. But it is what it is. Coaches made the decision, and we got to go by those.
Does the running? How much? I'm trying to think of how to phrase this in a game like that. When you see the Florida game, where I saw Eric Douglas jumping up and down and giving the first down sign, and the offensive line really seemed to be in it. Does the running back feed more off of his offensive line when there's success, or does the offensive line, in your opinion, feed more off of the running back's success? It's kind of like a chicken and the egg type thing, I think. But when you get into a game like this, Brian, and you had several of them, is it the running back who says, man, the offensive line's really on tonight, I'm going to have a big night? Or is it the offensive line who turns and says, boy, the guy behind us is having a big night. We got to get we need to get a little bit more of a push and get our guy going.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, both feed off each other. I mean, that's the best answer I can give you. I mean, I could be down one game and my offensive line they're in it. They're picking the running backs up, saying, "Hey, let's get after this," and vice versa. So it's hard to give a specific answer there, but they feed off of each other.
You played with a guy in Patrick DeMarco who was a very good fullback. Did you have a preference on having a fullback in front of you or running out of the shotgun with nobody in front of you? Because having never played running back, I defer to your opinion. It would feel like, that fullback could clog things up a little bit. You got to be a little bit more aware of the hole that maybe pops open, whereas with nobody in front of you, maybe the field's a little bit more spread out. Did you have a preference on what you liked with DeMarco in front of you and having that lead blocker, or maybe the field being a little bit more spread out?
Well, first of all, I mean, playing with Patrick and behind Patrick, I mean, you knew he was gonna have your back. He was gonna clear your hole open. So to answer that question, it was great running behind him because you knew he always had you. But to spread things out, especially in today's offense versus defense, it does make it a little easier. But if you're more of a downhill runner, you like coming out of that I formation or behind the quarterback.
Is there something specific for an offensive line if you're running from under center or from the shotgun, besides just being strong and physically athletic to get out and move, that the offensive line needs to be for South Carolina to run this? Like, you look at these guys right now, and there's some people who say, well, we just need to recruit better there. We need to become more athletic. We need to get stronger. But is there a trait that you think offensive linemen need for one system or the other that stands out and allows it to be more successful?
I mean, that's, to be honest with you, yeah, we need as much depth as we can get. Like I've said in previous shows, in order to win in this league, you got to have enough depth because people go out. You need to rotate fresh legs in, fresh arms in, whatever, what have you. But, at the end of the day, offensive line is offensive line. It's me lined up against versus you, across from you, and I want to whip your butt, to be honest with you. So it shouldn't be – I don't see it as being a difference if you're in shotgun or if you're in I formation for those guys. I mean, it's just a mentality. Hey, you're not going to beat me today.
He's Brian Maddox joining us this morning, former South Carolina running back from 2007 to 2010, part of the SEC East Eastern Division Championship team. And Craig asks on the Buford Lending live stream, where we have your picture up hurdling this particular Auburn player. He says, "What does it feel like? What does the body feel like after 20 carries on a Sunday morning?"
Yeah, so it's you definitely feel it. Your adrenaline's going so much throughout the game. You don't feel it during the game or even after the game when you're celebrating with your teammates. But come Sunday morning, it does. You got to do a little stretching before you can get out of bed.
What do you remember in particular? You had a couple big games there, or y'all had some big games against Auburn in 2010. You go down there. That was I don't want to say there was some other games for Cam Newton that I think kind of propelled him on to who he became as a player at Auburn. But the game down there certainly stands out. What do you remember about that game down? It was a September 25th game. Garcia gets hurt, I guess. Connor Shaw comes in. What do you remember about that game down against Auburn?
Yeah, I mean, it was a game where we fought our butts off, and we had their number. And I don't remember if Garcia quite got injured or not, or he made a pass or did something that Coach Spurrier didn't like, so he put Connor in. I can't remember exactly, but it was a hard fought game. And we were running the ball on them very well. We were able to throw on them. But at the end of the day, turnovers cost you. And I think Connor ended up throwing an interception late in the game that pretty much, it was a done deal, and gave Auburn the ball back and late in the fourth or something like that. But, the rest is history with Connor. He's great. But, it was a great game. We enjoyed it. And we ran the ball well. I mean, you got to be able to run the ball well in order to pass and have an efficient offense. So.
Hey, Brian, as far as this running back room right now, as a former running back, what have you seen from these guys? It seems like they've kind of stuck with a 3-man rotation now with Zaquandre White, Kevin Harrison, Marshawn Lloyd. What do you make of the workload each of these guys are getting? It does feel like Zaquandre White is really given the offensive jolt of energy, but still getting outpaced by Kevin Harrison carries. What do you like from these guys, and what do you think about the workload they're each getting right now?
I mean, I like how the tenacity of all three of them. They don't like to get brought down, which that's the name of the game when you're a running back. You got to shed some tackles. As far as the workload that they're getting, I would play the hot hand. If it's Zaquandre White, or Kevin Harris, or Marshawn Lloyd, whoever has the hot hand, that's who should get the bulk of the carries, throughout a game. I mean, but that could change each week, because sometimes somebody has your number and you're just not as effective, as the next man. So I mean, it varies.
He's Brian Maddox joining us this morning. Just a few minutes left with him. Can you describe? I said it after the Florida game. Zaquandre White runs angry. Did you, as a running back coming up? Did you ever hear that phrase? And did you ever do you understand what running angry just means? Because when I watch Zaquandre White, it's a different style of running to me than I see from Kevin Harris. Would you agree with that as a running back?
Yeah. I mean, they're slightly different in style, and White's definitely, he has some speed to him, and once he's getting going, it's hard to slow him down. So. He definitely runs angry. I've heard that term ever since my high school days, and when I came here to the University of South Carolina. So, he definitely runs angry. If the kid is outperforming and got it going throughout the game, keep feeding the ball, because he's wanting to get to that end zone, no doubt.
It feels like to me that Marshawn Lloyd just seems to have bad things happen to him. It seems like he's a runaway or a broken tackle away from a big play, and then Saturday he has the ball stripped out of his hands. As a running back, how do you stay in the moment and realize that you're one big play away from maybe turning things around, or is there kind of a sense that you just can't seem to get the right block at the right time, or a guy's grabbing you by the shoestring? Or what advice would you offer to Marshawn Lloyd right now, who just seems to always be so close to the big play, it just can't quite happen just yet?
Yeah, I mean, if I was talking to him, I would just say, hey, look, man, just stay in the moment, keep doing what you're doing, keep going 100 miles an hour in each rep at practice, work on the things that that are some opportunities for you, and basically just keep your head down and keep plowing away. You can't give up. You got to stay ready. Because once your number's called, you don't want to have to get ready. So you want to stay ready. That's something one of the running back coaches when I first got to University of South Carolina always said, Robert Gillespie. So you just want to stay ready.
We appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning. Certainly always enjoy your insight and opinion. Good luck to you the rest of the week. And maybe we'll get you out to Bojangles next Tuesday if you got time to swing by and sit down with us and even talk a little South Carolina Clemson game.
Sounds good, man.
Appreciate you, Brian. Always taking time to join us each and every week, and certainly getting out and doing a little bow hunting as well. Thank you to Brian Maddox for joining us this morning. The track athlete that was also a great running back, but you could check it out on the live stream, the picture of him that we had up hurdling the Auburn player back in the 2010 game there on the Plains. Big thank you again to Brian Maddox. Coming up in about 25 minutes, we'll catch up with Brian Matthews, the Auburn sports reporter from the Rivals website. Was scrolling through Twitter and saw a picture of Bo Nix with his foot up saying a successful surgery. So we will talk with him about TJ Finley, Tank Bigsby, and about the kicking situation down there, is what he expects from Auburn coming into Columbia, South Carolina this weekend for a 7 p.m. game. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Gamecocks, Braves.
Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. Morning, Hope. Hope you're doing well.
Detroit running back DeAndre Swift surprisingly carved up Pittsburgh's run defense for 130 yards on 33 carries, while Minnesota's Justin Jefferson caught 9 of the 11 passes Kirk Cousins threw his way for 143 yards. We've got game balls for the entire Packer defense, which pitched the first shutout Russell Wilson has endured since he first opted the scene back in 2012. And 49ers safety Jimmy Ford picked off Matthew Stafford twice on Monday night.
All right. 2 hours down. Take that.
7-yard pick six. Finally, Bill Belichick earned a game ball after his playoff 40 takes.
Oh.
Lowe's Provember event back. In celebration of pros, we're offering special values on top tools to get any job done right. Head into Lowe's and check out the largest selection of DeWalt power tools and accessories. Right now, you can get a guaranteed tough DeWalt 20-volt max bare tool free when you buy a DeWalt 20-volt max drill or impact driver kit. Shop in-store or order online. Lowe's, the new home for pros. Valid through 1/5 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. U.S. only.
Napa know-how. When you buy the Napa bag for 99 cents, you'll get 20% off 3 or more items. No other bag saves you 20% on wipers, premium oil, headlamps, and more, which makes the Napa bag the best bag in the world. Sorry, handbags, man bags, punching bags, bagpipes, and even you, bags up the eyes. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how. Know-how. At participating locations, not include taxes and fees. Advertised sale prices not available in some states. Operates 11/21.
Gamecock Nation is West Metro introducing you to Gamecock Central through free text alert service. This text USC to 877 GO Cox to get the biggest breaking Gamecock news sent straight to your cell phone. That's 877 GO Cox.
It's time to remodel. Actually, that's time to remodel. But you still haven't started. Well, there's no better time than right now. I'm Eddie Springfield, Trick Out Builders, and we really do make remodeling your kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, or whole house easy. At Trick Out, we're going to be every step of the way. We do first class work.
Let's see if I can find the article.
And forklifts. Call 360-8211. 360-8211.
What time we got?
4 minutes.
Firearms training and sales in West Columbia. Champion Defense is owned and operated by active duty veterans Jay and Felicia Harris. They have 30 years of military service and firearm experience. Champion Defense offers the SCCWP.
All right, I'm gonna try and.
Pistols and rifles. Champion Defense will also do pistol and rifle upgrades and custom builds. They are located at 2247 Augusta Road in West Columbia, behind Chick-fil-A, next to Andre Reyes, and check it out online at ChampionDefenseLLC.com.
I don't know if it's gonna work. I want to listen to this. I want to listen to the Sarkeesian thing. Craig, until I can afford not to. I wish I knew the answer to that.
Fight night in the NBA, but Paul George put up a big-time performance for the Clippers. 3:35 remaining. Clippers are like 15. George out first free throws like that for Bledsoe. George turns the corner. Head on out to the rim. 2 for Paul George. 82. 34 points. 9 for George. The Clippers just missed the surge. 106-92. No equal with Paul George.
Oh, boy.
Beat down the net 117-99. Steph Curry, the heavy lifting, at 37 points, 9 of 14 from deep. And the Jazz rolled the Sixers 120-85. Bojan Bogdanovic led the way with 27. Everyone at the top one this week, so no changes and no surprises with the latest college football rankings. Georgia remains at the top, followed by Alabama.
Yeah, Crypto Arena. I saw that December 25th.
Crypto.com arena.
Crypto.com arena.
Michigan.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Picked up his bounce. Hands to a cutting tail. Back to get a wide open 3-left wing, but its eye is good. And it was once in a
Yeah, we can do that. Although I think it might limit my the way I can use the sun. But yes, or Waddy, you could just come down to Bojangles next week and everybody could gather. We'll have the live stream going. We could treat it like game day where y'all are all where everybody's actually behind us and we're just facing a camera right in front of us. Be a great idea. Patrick, maybe next week we should just I should bring down an iPad or something and just we'll have our computers, but we'll just have the iPad with one stream of both of us.
Where do we set it up?
I don't know. It's Bojangles. They got to have bow boxes laying around.
Oh.
A bow box and have you know what I'm saying?
For Bojangles, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we could probably get creative in here, but I think once we start taking some liberties with drills and building shelves, I think the engineer may be unhappy.
Well, the engineer should just fix the camera in the corner. That works perfectly.
Yeah, but I think it'd be better. Of course, we have so many mics in here.
Yeah, we need to get rid of half of the mics that don't work. All right.
We got about 8 million mics right here.
1075 The Game with Bill Gunter and Patrick Perrette.
Why don't we start with someone more interesting?
And producer extraordinaire, Jen Jensen. It's time for the early game, where the bacon is always prepared properly.
My grand slam was supposed to be with sausage.
On 1075 The Game.
Hour number 3 on a Wednesday. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette joining you here. Jen Jensen will be back tomorrow, or at least we expect her to be back tomorrow. If you want to weigh in this morning, 803-404-6100 on anything you've heard or want to comment on. Certainly talking more and more now as we get closer and closer to South Carolina and Auburn this coming weekend and what could happen in that game. CD weighing in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. He says, I agree with Patrick. If they bring men up to cover the run, he's referring to the South Carolina defense, it makes them vulnerable in the deep end, but they have to cover for the undersized defensive line, hoping the offense can score enough to win. Patrick, do you think the defensive line is undersized? Would you? I don't know if they're undersized. There's some big bodies on there. I don't know what, you're not going to have a Jordan Davis. Nobody has a Jordan Davis that's 340 pounds and motors around like he's a wide receiver.
Well, nobody has a Jordan Davis in that sense, but people do have 315 pounders. South Carolina doesn't have that. Although I will say Zach Pickens has put on a lot of weight recently, and he is clearly much stronger. I mean, he's a grown man out there right now, so I will give him credit for that. But yeah, I mean, I think they're relatively undersized, but that's the thing. They're good athletes. They're all good athletes, and they're good at rushing the passer. So it's a little bit of give and take. You can't have a Jordan Davis who throws people aside and chases running back sideline to sideline like that. But also Jordan Davis doesn't play that many plays either. He's not in there all the time. But yeah, I think in large part they are relatively undersized on the interior because I mean Enagbare is a very large defensive end. Like he's a grown man on the outside. It's not like he's a tiny little 225-pound speed rusher. He's got power and everything. It's just you don't have the 300 plus pounders on the interior.
Well, or maybe say even 320 plus, because I think Pickens is a little over 300.
Yeah.
I think some of those guys.
He's definitely added a lot of weight in the last year.
It is something we get caught up on the offense. We get caught up on certain aspects of the team, but the run defense for South Carolina has not been particularly great. Again, we kind of highlighted Chris Rodriguez for Kentucky was able to get 140 yards and was able to pick up. What got lost in that game is he couldn't hold on to the ball. He kept fumbling throughout that game, but Chris Rodriguez was able to have success running the football against South Carolina, which is how they were able to win. Troy was able to have success running with B.J. Smith going for over 100 yards against South Carolina. Again, Tennessee and Evans going for 119 yards. Now I'm starting to realize that has South Carolina given up about a 100-yard rusher in just about every game since East Carolina? I guess Vanderbilt did not get one.
Every team with a good running back runs for 100 yards.
Did Texas A&M get a 100-yard? Yeah.
I would assume so. Isaiah Spiller definitely went for 100 yards, right?
Is it a Shane? Am I saying
that? A-Chain.
A-Chain? He had 154 yards. Yeah, Spiller went for 102.
So 200-yard rushers.
So, yeah, 200. So, that is a concern. I mean, look, we've talked a lot about South Carolina's offense, and yes, they need to play better on Saturday against Auburn. The offensive line needs to perform better. But now, as you start to look at the rushing numbers, and that was the surprise for the Florida game, is that Florida came out and threw the ball on 10 consecutive plays to start the game. Now they were having success hitting the downfield pass, but yeah, you're right, Patrick. If you look back, 100-yard rusher given up against Chris Rodriguez for 140 against Kentucky. Again, 119 given up to Evans in the Tennessee game, 2 of them in the Texas A&M game. Vanderbilt did not get a 100-yard rusher in that particular game. Of course, there wasn't a pretty game to watch to begin with. Texas A&M with 2 of them. Florida did not end up with a 100-yard rusher. They only had 82 total yards, but then 209 given up to Tyler Beatty this past weekend in Missouri. And certainly stopping Tank Bigsby this weekend will be the key, as he ran for over 100 yards against South Carolina last year.
So 500-yard rushers in 10 games and 1 200-yard rusher.
I don't think. Yeah, Georgia had it mixed up. They were mixing guys in and out so much, and of course they were able to hit some plays. They did not end up. Kendall Milton was the leading rusher in that game, 10 carries for 66 yards. James Cook had 51. Zamir White had 51. Stetson Bennett had 12. You get the point.
How many carries did Cook and White have?
Cook had 4 for 51. White had 8 for 51.
Okay, so they're all 6+ yards per carry as well.
So South Carolina's defensive line certainly another talking point as we get closer to Saturday night and what South Carolina needs to do to win that game. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100, how you can do so this morning. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll catch up with Brian Matthews of auburnsports.com. It is the Rivals website for Auburn, and we will talk about where Auburn is. Obviously, the big news of the week, Bo Nix out with ankle surgery. TJ Finley will be in. Patrick, if TJ Finley doesn't play against South Carolina, and we're just talking about the backup who transferred from LSU, do you think people, what is the perception of TJ Finley if that South Carolina LSU game does not happen last year? Like if Finley goes, what if Finley's 10 of 21, but LSU still runs for whatever they ran for in that ball game? Because I do think that the fact that TJ Finley in his first career start didn't get pressure and was 17 of 21 for, I think it was 254 yards is exactly what I think it was for. Like, has given South Carolina fans the heebie-jeebies this week, and more of like, oh, this guy again, he's a really good quarterback. And I don't know how good he is.
No, I don't know how good he is either. I think South Carolina fans are this is just a fan base that says, okay, well, we've seen backup quarterbacks dice us up a million times already. So, I mean, the TJ Finley LSU game was just yet another example of South Carolina making a backup quarterback look like a superstar. And it happened against Vanderbilt already this year. You almost lost to a backup quarterback at Vanderbilt. So I just think generally, if you're negative on the South Carolina team right now, which fans are after losing that game, I think they were going to probably expect the worst, no matter what, no matter who was coming in. And you just kind of assume that Auburn is a team that's going to have a decent backup. And there's also people like me who think Bo Nix kind of stinks, and he was not good against South Carolina last year, threw the game away multiple times, just continuing to target Seth Williams, even though J.C. Horn was locking him up all game. So I don't think people necessarily would expect it to be a huge drop off. And I think if we put a poll out, who would you rather play against, Bo Nix or TJ Finley? It wouldn't be lopsided. I think a lot of people would probably rather play against Bo Nix than TJ Finley anyway.
803-404-6100. How you can join us. We'll continue this conversation coming up tonight, 7 o'clock, Colonial Life Arena. The South Carolina women will host in-state rival Clemson down there at Colonial Life Arena. You can actually check out a ring and banner ceremony beginning at 6:50 tonight to commemorate last year's 2021 accomplishments. Which of course was the SEC tournament title and the third trip to the NCAA Final Four. So you'll have a banner raising tonight. Tomorrow night, the men take on USC not USC Upstate. They take on Wofford. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place as I look at the schedules for what's going on the remainder of the week.
They will not be hanging a banner.
No, they will not be hanging a banner. The banner will be tonight for the women, commemorating the Final Four appearance in the SEC Tournament Championship. Then Clemson at 7 o'clock at Colonial Life Arena. You can get down there. Tickets still available tomorrow night. Wofford in town for South Carolina. Actually, it's not Wofford. It's UAB as I look at the schedule. The Wofford game is next Tuesday, the one that I will be attending with my son, Austin, which is how I know that Wofford is next week. UAB tomorrow night. Andy Kennedy in town for the men as they will take on UAB tomorrow night. So a lot going on at Colonial Life Arena the next two nights. A lot going on around here with South Carolina and Auburn hooking up Saturday night, 7 o'clock at Williams-Brice Stadium. Also, across college football, we discussed a little bit. Justin Fuente out at Virginia Tech. That happened about 24 hours ago, Patrick. We were on the show when that occurred. And again, the coaching hot board, for those wondering, this is from Evan Watkins with VTScoop.com. His coaching hot board initially, Luke Fickell, Billy Napier, Will Healy, the current coach at Charlotte. Then you go down to Dave Clawson at Wake Forest, and then he gets into Jamie Chadwell. Chadwell would be an interesting guy at Virginia Tech. And then it goes to the defensive coordinator, Mike Elko at Texas A&M, Marcus Freeman, defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, Charles Huff, the current Marshall head coach, also on the list. Now, that's coming from an insider, what I consider an insider on a website, vtscoop.com. Joe Moorhead also on the list, by the way. They're the current offensive coordinator at Oregon, former Mississippi State head coach. But the name you don't see on that list is Shane Beamer, and we've kind of covered that this morning. Shane addressing that yesterday in his press conference. Also, Virginia Tech just not seeming that interested. It's kind of a non-story with South Carolina or with Shane Beamer and Virginia Tech. It's not something we've addressed this morning and don't really plan to because neither of us see it as a storyline. Virginia Tech, again, I think they're going to go an entirely different direction. Other names on their board, there is some connections with Whit Babcock, the athletic director at Virginia Tech, and Luke Fickell. Doesn't mean that Luke Fickell is taking the Virginia Tech job. In fact, it's highly, highly unlikely. But at the end of the day, you look at it, and this is not going to be a story for us to follow with Shane Beamer and Virginia Tech.
Yeah, no, he shut it down. I mean, I don't know how interested they would be if he was open to it or had considered or was willing to take calls. But yeah, I mean, we heard it yesterday. He's not interested. It would be a downgrade at this time, probably. Maybe Virginia Tech could throw more money at him. Actually, they could definitely probably throw more money at him. But yeah, not a story. They I assume they didn't even consider it when he got fired. I don't know if some booster put in a courtesy call or somebody that knew Frank put in a call and said, hey, how open would Shane be to doing it? And Frank said, no way. But yeah, we will not spend any time talking about it.
803-404-6100. Again, how you can join us coming up in about 5 minutes. Brian Matthews with AuburnSports.com. Again, tonight, South Carolina and Clemson women's basketball at Colonial Life Arena. Tomorrow night, South Carolina and UAB at Colonial Life Arena. So some college basketball to get you through the week. There was some good games last night. Seton Hall upsetting number 4 Michigan. North Carolina going into Charleston and defeating Charleston 91-83 in a game I watched a good bit of. Charleston had a 42-36 halftime lead, but the big men of North Carolina able to do some damage in the second half and pull away there as North Carolina rolls over Charleston last night. The Tar Heels ranked 18th in the country currently. Is college basketball up and running tonight. There will be a couple games as well. those of interest to you, or that you might at least be interested in, for Patrick in particular, George Mason at Maryland, Big Ten Network. Patrick, if you want to get into that, your Maryland Terrapins, they're hosting George Mason. Maryland off to a 3-0 start. They're favored by 11.5 tonight. SEC game, Arkansas hosting Northern Iowa. And we'll see how that goes. So there's just a couple games that are ranked games tonight. Connecticut also in action. They're ranked 23rd. So college basketball up and running as well. Again, tonight, the women taking on Clemson. There will be a 6:50 banner and ring ceremony to commemorate last year's SEC tournament championship, as well as the Final Four appearance. Then the game at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, Alabama, Birmingham in town to take on Frank Martin's team, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow as well. Up next, though, Brian Matthews with AuburnSports.com. We'll get his take on TJ Finley, on Tank Bigsby, the kicking situation, and everything going on down at Auburn, so we can analyze that over and over and over. You're listening to The Early Game on 107.5 The Game.
Live, local, and free. That's how we do sports. 107.5 The Game. Feel free to call and complain if you wish.
You should call that radio station and let him have it.
Remember, we are free of charge, after all.
It's that time of the year to get over to Love Chevrolet. You thought I was going to say Thanksgiving or Christmas. No, that's not what time of year it is. It's time to get over to Love Chevrolet. You know why? The Silverados are back in stock. That's right. Number one Chevy selling truck in the country is back in stock over at Love Chevrolet, and you need to go check out the incredible selection that is available to you. The Silverado, the top truck in America. It's a beautiful truck, comes with a lot of amenities. You need to get over to Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You know what? You're going to see all the great Silverados in stock. What you're not going to find are those ridiculous add-on stickers that get tacked on. Extra add-ons that take advantage of you. That's not what Love Chevrolet does, especially during this time of low supply and high demand. It is just wrong to be doing that. That's not what they do at Love Chevrolet. It's business as usual, providing the largest selection, the lowest price guaranteed, and always treating their customer with the utmost respect and integrity. That's why I believe in Love Chevrolet. That's why I go visit them, whether it's to purchase a new vehicle or to use their service department to get something taken care of on the Tahoe that I have. Go visit Love Chevrolet yourself. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You can visit them on the web, lovechevy.com. It is the number one volume Chevy dealer in South Carolina, and they've had their doors open for over 60 years. When you're in business that long, it tells you you're doing something pretty good. And at Love Chevrolet, they're not just doing it pretty good. They're doing it extremely well. Go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads.
And from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center, Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality, shepherdsglass.com. Got two collisions to report right now. The first is going to be in Lexington, US 378 and I-26. The other, Farrow Road and Hardscrabble Road. And we've also got a disabled vehicle on Farrow Road and Longtown Road.
Sponsored by eBay. Shop on eBay.
Our music is basically just randomly picked out of a pile of things that were chosen. Each show kind of picks their own, and it just randomly plays from there. That's why you hear like K-pop and stuff from the noon show, because Pearson picks it all. And for us, it's a little bit more of a variety, and Heath's is all classic rock. I can change it if I want to individually in every break, but It's a lot to do. I just leave it.
Yeah, I got enough problems with it. Hope, how many times did I say we played Wofford? Because again, I repeated that to Austin several times last night and just stuck with me. Just seemed right. Even though I'm going to the game tomorrow night, but just wasn't thinking. Just whoever, they play somebody.
What do you mean you sent him songs? On what? Fish songs? I'm assuming.
Yeah, just got to stop talking to the kids. Clearly, me talking to my kids messes me up on the radio. Telling them one thing. Spotify for bump music, huh? We did have a little bit of a run-in with the gym director last night at Austin's basketball practice because his practice is supposed to end at 8:45, and at 8:42 they started flicking the lights for us to end practice. Like, dude, come on, like, we get to, we do at least get to go till 8:45, and then you can try and kick us out. It was so bad. Me and her argued for a minute. And she goes, well, at least let you go to 8:46. And I was like, well, actually, you've been arguing with me for 3 minutes that we have to leave the gym. So, no, you didn't let me go to 8:46.
Is it an hour practice?
Yeah, 7:45 to 8:45, which is late for 9 to 10-year-olds.
Yep. But an hour is not enough. You can't cut off the hour early.
Yeah, we were kind of upset.
Yeah, she just wanted to go home.
Yeah, she did. Well, and then she said the one line you can't say to me at all. She's like, I've been up since 6:30. I just want to go home to my family. I was like, oh. Let me tell you about when I got up then. It was at Bar Road, Allen. Bar Road practice.
All right, what time did you say for Brian? 8:40?
8:20 now.
Oh. All right, well, let's take him to – it's kind of a long break next.
Okay. Well, I mean, how much more do we have at this break?
This is the last minute. I mean, I moved his spot away, so I'll just call him now.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to keep more than 15 minutes. So even if we get out at 8:38 or 8:40. Yeah, I mean, we got tons of time, and it's not like we have an 8:40 this morning. So.
All right, we're good. As long as we're up at like 45, it's fine.
Oh, yeah. We aren't going 20 minutes with him.
We could.
We could, but we don't plan to.
5 the game.
$8:24 on a Wednesday morning. Almost halfway through the week here, getting you closer to South Carolina and Auburn, 7 o'clock Wednesday night at Colonial Life Arena. Reminder, you can go join Heath Klein, though, Friday, 4 to 7 p.m. at Savage Craft Ale Works, 430 Center Street in West Columbia. You can register to win a $250 gift card to Gardent and Black Traditions. But besides seeing Heath, the best part is there's free appetizers, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. So not only do you get to hang out the only Heath Klein at Savage Craft Ale Works, 430 Center Street in West Columbia this coming Friday from 4 to 7 p.m., but there will be free appetizers. It's hard to pass up. Free appetizers and Heath Klein. I don't know of a better way to start a football weekend, Patrick.
Yeah, what more could you need?
I mean, free appetizers and Heath Klein in that might be too much for some of you. And quite frankly, South Carolina is going to need the fan base on Saturday night, 7 o'clock. Don't overdo it on the free appetizers and hanging out with Heath Klein. But go see him this Friday, 4 to 7 p.m. Savage Craft Ale Works, 430 Center Street in West Columbia. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Brian Matthews joining us with auburnsports.com, part of the Rivals Network this morning, to give us a breakdown because, Brian, these two teams, very, very interesting situations. And I don't know how Auburn feels about South Carolina, but Mike Bobo being over there, there are South Carolina fans that they're bringing their mustard and golf balls to the stadium on Saturday night to welcome him.
You know, I hadn't even thought about that until you brought it up. But, you know, for Auburn, that was probably the most disappointing loss from last year, other than, you know, losing to the Rivals, which tends to happen more often now. And then, you know, you've got the added, you know, deal with TJ Finley now, the starting quarterback, who had his best game against South Carolina last year too. Of course, that was with LSU's offensive line and receivers, and it's a little bit different with Auburn right now.
What do you make, this TJ Finley situation for South Carolina? Again, just a weird tie-in here, and we've talked about it a little bit this morning. For South Carolina, the fact that they saw TJ Finley last year against LSU, TJ Finley made his first start. He was 17 of 21 in that ball game, threw 2 touchdowns and an interception and 265 yards. South Carolina fans didn't handle that one particularly well. What do you make of new TJ Finley now with Auburn and what South Carolina fans will see from him on Saturday night?
Well, I think South Carolina probably knows more about TJ than I do, right? Because they've seen more of him. He came in and sort of rescued Auburn against Georgia State. They're about to suffer, you know, one of the most humiliating defeats, you know, in a long time. But he came in and threw a touchdown on 4th down to sort of save them in that game, give them the W at home. And then he hasn't played much at all since then, just a couple of cameo appearances. He came in, I think, for the last drive after Bo got hurt. Actually, Bo got hurt in the third quarter and played a good portion of the second half before TJ came in when the game was already over. So, you know, from what I know about him, he's more of a pocket passer, you know, big, tall kid, got a pretty strong arm. You know, they'll probably structure the offense a little bit different with him compared to Bo. One interesting part of this is, you know, you look at Auburn's running game, it's averaging about 120 yards in conference, which is 11th. And that's with Bo, you know, having to, you know, defense having to account for Bo in the running game because he's a really good running quarterback. And that's not necessarily the case with TJ. So Auburn's running game, which has struggled this season, might struggle more now with TJ in there.
He's Brian Matthews joining us this morning. You can follow him on Twitter at BMattAU is the way to do that for all of your for all of your Auburn updates throughout the weekend. auburnsports.com on the Rivals Network. Tank Bigsby is a guy, South Carolina. Again, Brian, it's weird because there are these connections. A lot of people thought South Carolina was going to land Tank Bigsby during the recruiting process. There's a picture of him climbing up on a tank outside of Williams-Brice Stadium. A lot of people thought it had to do with a commitment video he was filming. Bigsby, he got off to a great start this year, and then the last few weeks has struggled. Had 100 yards in that Mississippi game. I think that was a really good win for Auburn. But you talk about that run game. What does seem to be the issue here over the last several weeks?
Well, I think it's his offensive line, a big part of it, you know, and they just have not run blocked well. You know, he averaged 2.6 yards per carry in that loss to Mississippi State last week. His backup, Jarquez Hunter, rushed 4 times for 12 yards. Just really ineffective. Can go in and get past that second level. And Tank is, you know, talent-wise, one of the top running backs in the country, but just has not got it done in conference play. And I think a lot of that is just the offensive line not coming off the ball. I think the scheme changed. They're running more outside zone now. You know, under Brian Harsin and Bobo, and for whatever reason, whether it's a line or somewhat Tank or a little bit of both, you know, that just has not worked out. And it's just not been they haven't had the ability to just sort of impose their will on opposing defenses. The only team they've run against fairly well in the SEC was Ole Miss, and of course they won that game. But the rest of the conference games have been a real struggle there.
What about on the defensive side of the ball? I know the secondary was pretty hyped up before the season, and last week Will Rogers just went crazy with 415 yards and 6 touchdowns. What are you seeing from the secondary? Was it just a bad day at the office, or is there actually some worry there?
Oh no, they've let, I think it's now 3 quarterbacks, maybe 4, complete over 80% of passes against them. I need to go back there and check that, but they have a ton of talent in the secondary, right? Roger McCreary is a possible first round draft pick at cornerback. Smoke Mondays, coming to his 4th year as most of those seasons as starters or key backups there at safety. Some real depth at cornerback, and but I think the big thing is with Kevin Steele, they were primarily a man team. Over 90% of the time, I'd say they're playing man back there, and now they've switched to playing primarily zone, and it's just been a really big adjustment. And what had happened before Mississippi State is teams had moved the ball and passed the ball real well between the 20s, and they had stiffed it in the red zone and really held opponents to either no points or field goals. And then Mississippi State just, that bend or break just really broke in half and, crumbled to the ground against the Bulldogs. They scored 40 unanswered points, 6 consecutive touchdown drives against that defense in Jordan Hare Stadium. So it fell to pieces last Saturday. And I don't know where it's going to stand going to South Carolina.
Again, he's Brian Matthews joining us this morning from auburnsports.com. You can follow him on Twitter at BMattAU is the way to do that. It's all part of the Rivals Network. What is 10 games in, and let's start with 2. I'm going to go 2 questions here on you. Number one, in the grand scheme of things for Auburn, Alabama is on deck. And a couple of weeks ago, Brian, I was kind of saying, hey, Alabama's got some issues. Auburn seems to be playing really well. They were coming off that win against Mississippi. It looked like they'd kind of turned the corner. You mentioned last year was the most disappointing loss for Auburn, or one of, if not the most, given also the other one was to a really good Alabama team. But where is Auburn mentally going into this South Carolina game with Alabama on deck? I mean, from what you've gathered here through Monday and Tuesday, is this a team that's focused on South Carolina, or after the loss last weekend, Alabama on deck, do you think maybe there's a little bit of a look ahead or a little out of it?
Well, you're right in that Auburn fans and a lot of fans, I think, in this part of the country were saying, hey, this could be an iron ball for the SEC West Championship, right? And Alabama was looking a little, like they had some issues. And Auburn had won the last 2 times Alabama had come to Jordan Hare Stadium, 2017 and 19. So, yeah, a couple of weeks ago, there's a lot of excitement and confidence surrounding that potential. And then Auburn went out and lost 2 straight games. So, where I think Auburn is pretty focused on South Carolina right now, I think the team is also a little demoralized when you look back to what's happened to their season over the last couple of weeks with those losses. Now they're tied for 5th in the West. They're without their starting quarterback who has started, I think it was close to 30 straight games, since he arrived as a true freshman. So this will be the first time they've had a different starting quarterback since 2018. They also starting kicker too. I don't know if y'all saw that, but he is out for the season with an ACL. And Auburn's had a Carlson brother, his brother Daniel, who's now at the Raiders, was a starting kicker for 4 years, and then Anders, this is his 4th year as a starter. So I think what's happened over the last week is really going to be mentally challenging for Auburn to come to South Carolina and play their best game. And, you look at South Carolina from afar, as I would look at them, I don't think they're a great team. But what they are is a team that plays hard, and a team that if you show up not completely focused, like maybe Florida was 2 weeks ago, they can, run up down the field on you, which they did to Florida. So I would be concerned if I'm an Auburn person that Auburn's going to show up there and not be able to play their best. And even their best may not be good enough to beat South Carolina. I mean, Auburn's shown they're not a great team this season. They're pretty average.
Yeah, Patrick and I actually debated whether it was Anders or Anders. I think Patrick went Anders, so I lost the pronunciation battle once again. I'm now 0 for about 131 on pronunciations. With that in mind, and that was the first part, was where the mindset is of the fan base and the team and so forth. What is the current opinion? 10 games, and it's from the outside looking in. Auburn and Gus Malzahn, it never. I don't know. There was always a lot of friction there. It felt like Malzahn always stayed on the hot seat. So you finally make that move. You bring in Brian Harsin. Is it a rebuild? Are people unhappy in year one? Is this kind of expect? Where is the fan base with Brian Harsin here as we start to close out the 2021 season?
I think they were okay. You know, they understood that this was a transition year, so to speak, until he blew the biggest lead in Auburn history. 129 years of football, ever given up a 25-point lead, and they were up 20-3, sort of like the Falcons were in that Super Bowl a few years ago, and got the doors blown off. So I think that's sort of changed it a little bit. But I also think, I wouldn't say fans tend to go week by week, right? Sometimes, but a lot of them can understand the big picture, and that sometimes first year coaches, they can go back and know that Pat Dye went 5-6 in his first year at Auburn. Shake Jordan, way back, is probably not a name that South Carolina fans know, but he's the winningest coach in Auburn history. Was, I think, 5-5 and 2-8 in his first 2 seasons at Auburn. So I think they realize that that transition to a new staff, a new scheme, a new way of doing things, can have its ups and downs in that first season.
I have a kind of a two-parter as well. I mean, he was brought as he's kind of the quarterback guru, and it seems like at times Bo Nix has taken a step forward, and then you look back at Texas A&M and it's 20-3, and you still see some of the boneheaded stuff. Is the general consensus that Brian Harsin has kind of unlocked something in Bo, or is it just kind of the same old with him?
I would say, looking at the season as a whole, Bo Nix definitely got better. In fact, he may have played probably his second best game of his career. Arkansas was probably his best, but against Mississippi State for his injury, he had thrown for 300. He threw for 377 yards and 2 touchdowns. And there was another little swing pass that ended up being called a run that looked like it could have been the pass, or he would have thrown for 400 yards. So he is definitely taken a step forward. Not consistent enough. That Texas A&M game was not one of his better outings. I think one of the issues with Bo has been, and it's something they've been working on, is he's very emotional, wants to win, and sort of can lose it at times, right? And once he gets frustrated, I think it's hard for him to come back. So that's the thing they've been working on too. I think that's a lot of what happened at Texas A&M. But he was playing well against State. Had some issues in that second half. Auburn's offense did, but I do think those guys have helped him as a quarterback. And we'll see about TJ. He's gotten all the number 2 reps. Of course, getting those 1 reps this week, and we'll see how he performs and what he can do. I would expect Auburn to come out throwing. That'd be my guess. They're not great throwing the ball. The receivers are really, really average. I mean, really average at best. But right now it's better than the running game, So we'll see how it goes.
And he's Brian Matthews joining us this morning. Just about a minute or two left with him, and we'll get him out of here so he can go enjoy his day. But Brian, you look at this game, and it's interesting to hear you say that, Auburn could come in and play their best game and maybe still not win the game. There's not a lot of South Carolina fans who I think have watched South Carolina and would feel that these two teams are even. But if you have to pick an area for Auburn that is the biggest concern, is it the mental aspect, or is there something physical, the defensive line, the secondary, the offensive line, that gives you concern or gives Auburn fans concern coming into this game Saturday night?
Yeah, I'd say number one would be the mental toughness and how well they're dialed in and ready to go, right? And just you can act right and talk right, but still maybe not be fully in. So that'll be something to watch, I think, early. And then the other thing is just Auburn's inability to run the game, because you want to go on the road. I know South Carolina statistically is not a good run defense. You've got a new starting quarterback. You want to go out there and establish a run and build off that offensively. And I just don't think Auburn can do that. So those are the top 2 biggest factors, I think, for Auburn going in. And they also look like a tired team there against State late, especially defensively. So we'll see how well they bounce back this week too.
Last thing for me is just, I thought it was crazy. Just a guy from Boise, went to Boise State, coaching at Boise State, and then leaves for a shot at the SEC. How do you think Harsin has been adjusting to the Southeastern Conference, to the South? And just kind of what's his vibe for people that have never really heard him speak or don't really know much about him. Is he high energy? Is he just a hardcore football guy? So how is he adjusting, and just kind of what's he all about?
He is interesting. On the sideline, he gives nothing away. He's not. I wouldn't call him like a stone face, but he is not real emotional. Don't see him losing it on the sidelines like you see with a lot of coaches, including Gus back in the day. Media wise, he's not overly talkative. He says a lot of things without saying much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he'll give a 400-word answer to a question, and you don't really get an answer to the question sometimes, which makes it interesting to write and cover him at times. I think he's a real football guy, 100%. And it's interesting to me that it seems like the players have really responded to him. Like, it seems like they like to play for him. They want to play for him. They bought in to his way of doing things. A very disciplined type coach, by way of the highway type coach. But he's found a way to do that without, upsetting the balance of the team, and by getting a lot of buy-in from those players. So hard for me to describe him really well, but he's definitely not your coach with a whole lot of personality, at least that you see from the outside. And of course, we're still doing Zoom interviews. We're not doing anything in person. So it is hard to get a really great feel for the type of guy he is. And as far as adjusting to the SEC and Auburn, I think it is an adjustment period. I think he's still going through that. Recruiting got off to a slow start. And I think people are worried about that right now. But, we follow recruiting closely, of course, and it looks like they're sort of setting up for a really strong finish here. So I think their class is 10th or 11th the SEC right now. I haven't checked in the last week or two, but they could still move up into the top 5-ish, 6, 7, 8-ish, and we'll see how they finish out.
He's Brian Matthews with auburnsports.com on the Rivals Network. You can check out his work there. Appreciate you taking out time this morning to join us. I know you're an hour behind, had to get up earlier, so we are very appreciative of you waking up to work with us this morning.
Hey, I appreciate you having me and look forward to a fun SEC game Saturday.
We hope it will be fun. Certainly. It's entertaining. Appreciate you. Take care. Brian Matthews with auburnsports.com. You can follow him on Twitter at BMattAU is the way to do that. Anything you missed here on the program, you can hear on the 1075thegame.com webpage. Just go to the podcast page at the top. Patrick and Jen both do a phenomenal job of getting those up not long after the show, if not right after the interview. So anything you missed there. And Mark weighing in on the live stream and saying the way Brian is talking feels like we are about to win 28-10, Patrick. Definitely, it sounds like Auburn's got a lot going on coming into this game. I don't think that makes South Carolina fans feel better.
No, but Hope said all the opponents' media does this. They lead you to believe they're terrible. That's kind of the opposite of what we heard at Florida, right? He came in and was real confident about Florida, right?
Yeah.
David Waters, he was like, I don't think Florida's going to have any trouble here. It's not always that way.
Yeah, it's back and forth, but certainly a game.
And Auburn's on a 2-game losing skid where they put up 3 points and then gave up 6 touchdowns through the air. So, I mean, understandably, things are kind of negative in Auburn right now.
I looked because the couple things that stood out. Yeah, again, they're like South Carolina. Now South Carolina had their bye week October 30th. I don't know if it matters at this point in the season if someone's more fresh or not. Auburn had theirs on October 23rd. They were coming off a victory at Arkansas. I think in our pick'em contest that week, I picked Arkansas to win that football game, and Auburn kind of played their best games back to back there. They thumped Arkansas 38-23. Bo Nix was great that day. And then they followed that up bye week. They followed that up with a victory over Mississippi on the Plains 31-20. And Nix was, again, really good, 276 yards. Looked like he turned the corner. They go down to number 14 at the time, Texas A&M, 2 weeks ago and get beat 20-3. And then you heard them. I think this is where the doom and gloom comes from. They're up 28-3 on Mississippi State last weekend and lose 43-34. He said they're a tired team. We'll find out. We'll talk more about it. We've got not only do we have a few minutes left in this show, but we've got 6 more hours tomorrow and Friday that we can get into that. Again, if you're just tuning in, you missed it. Brian Matthews with auburnsports.com. You can hear that interview where he just talks about TJ Finley and Tank Bigsby, the run game, everything for Auburn. There you can hear that on the 1075thegame.com webpage. Just go to that page and click on the podcast portion, the tab at the top. We'll finish up this program when we return. You're listening to the early game on 1075 The Game.
This is Gamecock basketball head coach Frank Martin, and you're listening to 1075 The Game, WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
Sponsored by South Carolina Education Lottery. The Powerball jackpot for Wednesday is $190 million. Be sure to stop by your local.
All right. Yeah. Well, Craig, we did. It just wasn't Jason Brown. It was making J.C. Horn look like a Heisman candidate, and Florida making the South Carolina run game look like the 1990 Nebraska Huskers. So you get it once in a while. Once in a while, something happens. You get Alabama making Steven Garcia look like the world's best quarterback ever in 2010. Every once in a while. And yeah, I hope I agree.
That was Scott wanting to know if you play golf. You want to play golf at 11:30. He said he texted the show and you didn't answer.
Yeah, I cannot play golf at 11:30.
I said that would probably be the answer.
Yeah, if I don't respond, that typically means I can't play. I've got some stuff to do today and a meeting at 10 a.m. tomorrow. A lot of good stuff going on. Busy. And the time change really. Last night I was taking Ansley to cheer at like 4:30, and it felt like 6:30. It just felt so late yesterday. And hope we actually brought. If you're referencing yesterday's couch comments, I've already brought it up again today, just because it was funny and I should have played off of it more. Should have just said that increased the bid on that particular couch. And I apologize, Alan. Yeah, I did. I don't know if I said it, but where's practice? Did I run that together? Got a lot of information here in front of me.
Our family is happy to announce the soon-to-be-open Gervais Street Midas, across from South Carolina Law School in the heart of downtown. While on Gervais or Wall Street, snap a picture of our QR code and claim your free oil change. We will be in contact with you when we open to schedule your free service. That's it. No strings attached. Oh, and if you live or work in the downtown area, our Gervais Street Midas will offer complimentary shuttle service. Keep your visits local and trust the Midas touch from the Furlong family-owned stores. Football season is here. Visit Discount Tire and let our pros take care of you, so you never miss a moment of the game. Get 30% shorter average wait time when you buy and book online. Use Treadwell, your personal tire guide, to find the right tire for your driving habits and get the same expert advice that you get in the store. At Discount Tire, we take pride in making your experience with us as easy as possible. Discount Tire, let's get you taken care of.
This one a pretty long one, Patrick.
90 seconds.
Oh, really?
Left, not total. It's already been 2 minutes.
Oh, I thought it was 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's 4 minutes. Right around 4 minutes.
This is the perfect family night out. Welcome in the holiday season. Portion proceeds benefit family trust. Split seats are still available, but time is running out. Get yours now at ticketmaster.com.
Lowe's November is back, and we're thanking pros like you all month long. So when you become a pro loyalty member, now through November 24th, you'll get a welcome kit via mail, Lowe's bucket included. It's all part of Pro Member, going on online and in stores. Lowe's, the new home for pros. New accounts open, more terms and conditions.
Oh, man.
Visit Lowe's.com/pro loyalty for details. US only.
Did you know Prilosec OTC can stop frequent heartburn before it begins? Yep,
Yeah, Alan,
heartburn at the source by taking the
I mean,
2-week challenge. With just
yeah,
one day, you get
long
24
days. Again, yesterday just seemed, man,
challenge today.
we must all be struggling.
Heartburn free.
RL.
24 hours, zero heartburn.
Yeah, I agree, Craig. Just cut out the daylight savings time. Confuses everybody.
Broadcasting live from the Heritage Chevrolet Studios. This is 1075 The Game. Stop by, shop online today, and see why Heritage Chevrolet makes you smile. And now, back to the early game on 1075 The Game.
Reminder that it is the time of the year to do holiday shopping. And if you're stumped on what to get the person who has it all, and as I said yesterday, there is an item on the list that not everybody has, but look no further than the local Sweet Bids auction that is currently ongoing at 1075thegame.com. You can go and check out a lot of great items right there. All you need to do is go to our webpage, 1075thegame.com, to bid. The auction ends tomorrow at 4 p.m. There's $500 worth of Columbia Fireflies swag, including a 7-game season ticket plan, some Columbia Museum of Art friend package valued at $550. It's an auction, so you go in, and that's worth these items, or that is what these items are worth. You can go in and bid on them. If you don't believe me, just go check out the website, 1075thegame.com, to bid. Again, the auction ending at 4 p.m. tomorrow. So I know a lot of you will be on there at 3:55 trying to get the best bid in. It is the holiday shopping presented to you by 1075 The Game, the Sweet Bids auction ongoing. Just go to the webpage, 1075thegame.com. Click on the tab there to enter. A lot of great items there available for you to bid on. 803-404-6100, closing out the Wednesday morning episode of the early game. Again, tonight over at Colonial Life Arena, the women's basketball team, Dawn Staley, taking on Clemson. There will be a banner and ring ceremony at 6:50 to commemorate last year's SEC tournament title, as well as the Final Four appearance. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m., men's basketball takes on the University of Alabama, Birmingham. If you're like, well, why did his voice raise and get a little excited? It's because I was pronouncing the correct team that South Carolina will be playing tomorrow night, not Wofford. That's next Tuesday night when I'll be there with my son, Austin. I will actually be there tomorrow night as well. I may go tonight, but some basketball to get into tonight. Again, Dawn Staley and team, unfortunately, without Raven Johnson, the number 2 recruit on ESPN's Hoop Girls, who has sustained a knee injury and will be out for the season. They take on Clemson tonight, 7 p.m. at Colonial Life Arena. And then tomorrow night, men's basketball against the University of Alabama, Birmingham at 7 p.m. So again, some college basketball to get into tonight and tomorrow night right here in the Midlands if you're looking for something to do. Patrick, as we wrap up the program, Brian Maddox, Brian Matthews, both of them will be on the podcast page. What particular thing do you take away from this program as regards to South Carolina and Auburn Saturday night?
That nobody's ever going to be happy with their football team. I mean, it's just, and Auburn, a negative fan or a positive fan, you can spin things so many different ways. You can spin Auburn's season as a huge negative right now with a 2-game losing skid, looking horrible 2 weeks ago against A&M, not looking good against Mississippi State, blowing that massive lead. But then you can also say, well, they beat a Ole Miss team that's probably going to end up 10-2 and be top 15, 10 when it's all said and done, playing in a huge bowl game. And they've only lost to Penn State in a highly emotional game in Happy Valley, Georgia, and then the last 2 weeks. So you've lost to 4 good to really good teams, and you can spin it literally no matter which way you want to do it. If you're an optimist, you can spin it positive. If you're a pessimist, you can say the sky is falling. So it's just college football.
We'll continue on with the discussion tomorrow. Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider will join us. We'll talk about South Carolina and Auburn. We'll also get his picks for the week. The point spread, if you're wondering, Auburn still a 7.5-point favorite over South Carolina on Saturday night, over under at 44.5. You've been listening to the early game. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrett on 107.5 The Game.
There's a glare. There's a
Right.
glare off of that window. I can't. If you were making facial features or hand gestures at me, I have to look at the live stream. I saw you. It looked like you were bouncing around trying to get my attention.
No. I was just
Okay.
bouncing around in general.
Hope you have a great day, Craig. I appreciate it. We didn't tell anybody about any weird furniture that is available to bid on the auction. So there's that. Although, again, I think it might have driven up the price if I'd have mentioned it again. So maybe there was that. But tomorrow we got the doctor from Prisma Health Orthopedic and Brian Edwards. So another busy show. And we hope everybody has a fantastic rest of the day. Jen should be back tomorrow as well.
Yep. I gotta wait until 9 o'clock so I can open the skimmer and actually get this podcast up.
Okay. Well, if you want real quick, we got to cut a sleep number so we can do that.
Oh, cool. All right. Good timing then.
Everybody have a
Awesome.
great day.
See you tomorrow.